Welcome in to the Yahoo edition, the deeper dive. We're live before live. We're doing everything Yahoo edition here, and we've got 4 games to look at. Most importantly, Matt LaMarca has 4 games to look at for you. You're here as well in the chat. You know what to do. Hit that thumbs up button. Make sure you're subscribed. And any questions you have regarding tonight's slate, from guys who were banged up to maybe finding some deeper value, well, that's what the chat is there. Jordan's producing. Matt, you all ready for the new year, man?
I'm ready. I'm ready for a big night tomorrow of doing what I do on basically every other night of the year.
So I was going to ask you straight up, like, oh, come on, give me your res. But I thought, instead of just asking the same old tired cliche question, I thought, you know what, real quick, briefly, because we only have 4 games, so it's not like we have to jam 10 or 11 games in here. What is the New Year's resolution for the New York Knicks? And I'll give you one for the Sixers.
It's the same resolution it's been for the last decade. Stop overpaying bad players in free agency. Maybe one of these years they'll actually come through with it.
So you're telling me that the Knicks every year are the person at the party, like at 12:08 a.m., that stands up on the couch and says, this is the year I'm stopping smoking or losing all that weight or whatever it is. And then, like, you know, a week later, you see him, you know, chain smoking, eating ring dings and everything else.
The Knicks are the team. They're the guy that is like, this is the year. They buy the gym membership and they buy it for the full year so that they're saving money in the long run. They go 3 times in January and then never go again. I'm also that guy, by the way. So me and the Knicks, we have something in common there.
We all are at some point. Absolutely. All right, I'll tell you this. For the Sixers, it's simple. It's get off your ass and do something. My goodness, you know, you talk about the analogy. The Sixers are the person every year. It says, you know, this is the year I'm going to spend some money. I'm going to go out. I'm going to buy that boat. I'm going to buy that house. I'm going to spend all this money that I've been the miser that, and I don't mean spend it like as far as in the Sixers standpoint. I mean, make a trade. I don't care who the hell it is. If you can get an all-star grade caliber player back for Ben Simmons, this team is drowning right now with Joel Embiid doing everything he possibly can. That's it. Just wanted to get the resolutions out there ahead of time for 2022. I don't think either one of our teams are going to listen, just to be fair.
No.
All right, my friend. We have a bunch of guys that we're looking at. Clearly, Spencer Dinwiddie being out was the big yes. There you go. Warriors had a bunch of guys out. The Nuggets had a bunch of guys out. Thank you, Jordan. And we were actually just talking about this before the slate began, the show began, Matt, about how we had the 4 games on here. And really outside of Denver, we weren't, I mean, Bradley Beal, the big one, KCP to a lesser extent, but we didn't have a ton of guys we were waiting for really outside of the Nuggets game. And now we know why there was such a delay on that.
Yep. And we've got now just 3 games to choose from. The 3-game slate, your mentality definitely changes a little bit. You can go for some thinner plays than you would on a normal night, you know, take some risks on some flyers, some unknowns maybe. And, you're going to have to try and get a little bit creative if you want to try and get some of these low ownership plays.
All right. So let's bump around here. And again, we're going to do our best to give you both the obvious ones that maybe you're rushing to. We'll always compare them to our own projections on site, our ownership projections that we have on site. Great reminder here for Yahoo to click those links below. We're going to give you $10 to play with. And on top of that, we're going to make sure that you get 1 free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum just for signing up to Yahoo. All right. Yeah, a lot of people excited about the 3-game slate tonight. Wheelhouse for Butthole Jenkins. Yes, exactly. Now, we do have a couple of big things, you know, like Kevin Durant is back from COVID, so we'll have to factor this in here. But as we do, you know, we bounce around position by position. We do have the return of Durant. The spend up option now is going to be James Harden. You can take Steph off the board there. You still have Drew Holiday kind of hovering there. But if you look at where the majority, and again, this was with 4 games, I don't know how much it's going to change drastically, maybe with 3, but if you look at where everybody from our own ownership projections was racing to, Matt, it wasn't Steph, it wasn't Harden, it was RJ Hampton as a super cheap option.
Yeah, and I do think Hampton stands out as the best value at the position. He's priced at $11. Going to see, you would expect the vast majority of the point guard minutes for the Magic. He's played, 28 and 31 and a half in his last 2 games. He's had at least 26 and a half Yahoo points in both. He's been playing well with Cole Anthony, Jalen Suggs out of the lineup, averaging right around 0.88 fantasy points per minute. So he's a strong play. He's tough to get away from. I do think that Curry being ruled out, like if you look at our ownership projections right now, we have 30% on Curry, 25% on Harden. That now probably all condenses into James Harden, or at least most of it, right? Because pivoting from Curry, there's really nobody else that you can consider. You have to kind of go up to Harden now.
That's a good point. I mean, at this point, when you look at the slate itself, where would be the top pivot from Harden? Holiday?
Yeah, and
Maxey?
Holiday.
I mean, I don't want to trust that. Sorry.
He feels very expensive right now at $38, right? This is a guy who was below 30 for most of the season when he was playing with Giannis. So the price really hasn't readjusted at this point. So I think this is a position where you're going to eat some chalk, right? You're going to go with RJ Hampton. You're going to go with Steph Curry. That's pretty much really the interest that I have. If you want to get a little weird, one situation that could have some value is in Cleveland, right? So they are now just completely out of point guards. They have no Ricky Rubio, no Colin Sexton, and no Darius Garland. So the question is, like, what are they going to do at point guard? Do they shift Isaac Okoro over there? Do they let somebody like Denzel Valentine play the point guard? Or do they give some run to Kevin Pangos? So he's priced at $10. We haven't projected for less than 5% ownership. I think taking some shots on him isn't the worst idea in the world.
Look, if you wanted a pivot away from ownership as a punt from Hampton, it has to be, right, Pangos, because of I mean, you're basically the same cost, but look at the difference. You're talking about 40% difference in ownership.
Right. And again, Pangos, not nearly as good of a play as Hampton.
I get it.
With Hampton, the role is secure. We know what to expect. With Pangos, it's a wild card, but that's why you're getting such an ownership discount. So I think, again, if you wanted to get a little bit creative, you could go there. I also think your boy Maxey is probably fine tonight at 22. Again, he's a little bit, like his price has come back to reality a little bit after it spiked there while the 76ers were so shorthanded. At a position that, again, there's probably like 4 or 5 different guys. That's it that I'm looking for now. He's, also got to be included on that list.
How much of that is simply because we have 3 games and 6 teams to choose from? Because
good part,
me, I'm always looking to slide one of my guys in here. He comes off a season low 5 points. And to your point about with Embiid back now healthy and in condition and shape, Tobias Harris, it doesn't look like Maxey is doing other things to compensate for a lack of scoring. And that's what concerns me from a fantasy standpoint, Matt.
Yeah, no doubt. That's completely fair. And again, like we said, if this was a normal slate, I probably wouldn't be giving him much consideration. You also want to keep your eye on Shake Milton's status. If Milton is back, that could be something that works against Maxey. So I probably would be reducing my ownership if Shake is in there. But there's just not a lot of directions to go here right now.
All right, let's look at the 2-guard spot. And we've kind of just bypassed Bradley Beal for so long and looked at everybody below him, but we do have to wait to see what happens here. He and KCP, GTD, to use as many abbreviations as I can there. So let's look at the 2 different hypotheticals, right? Let's start with Bradley Beal is healthy. Bradley Beal is playing tonight. He's at $36. So clearly the only real pay up, if you want, option at the 2. But we're talking about 3 games here. So I can't imagine that salary is going to be that much of, or at least as much as it is normally, of an impact on a play for Beal.
Yeah, I don't mind Beal as a pivot here. We haven't projected a little bit under 20% ownership. I'll be overweight on that just because, again, we're running out of players to pay up for now that we don't have Steph, we don't have Jokic, which we'll get to later. So yeah, I'll have some Bradley Beal. No Dinwiddie gives him a bump, right? Beal has averaged 1.14 fantasy points, or 1.14 fantasy points per minute with Dinwiddie off the court this season. That's a slight increase from his regular average of 1.05. So he does get a little bit of a bump. There's some minute uncertainty, right? You know, is he going to be limited in his first game back? It's not a great matchup versus Cleveland, who's played excellent defense all year, but we have to pay for somebody. So let's get some Bradley Beal into our lineup.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Right. I mean, at this point, you definitely want to try something here from that standpoint. Now, looking at Washington specifically, trying to take advantage of what's happening there, and we're going to bounce around at this position. So if there's people in between, that's fine. But, you mentioned Okoro as far as, being able to take up on Cleveland's side. What about someone like Corey Kispert on Washington at $10?
Yeah, I'm not particularly bullish on Kispert. He can shoot it a little bit, right? That's really where his fantasy value is going to be derived from. He's got 4 made threes in 2 of his last 3 games, but I would expect his minutes, even with Dinwiddie out, I would expect his minutes to come kind of back to reality with Bradley Beal and likely KCP back in the lineup. If those guys don't suit up, then we can start talking about getting some Kispert back into our lineups. But I think if you're assuming that the Washington guys play, which I kind of am operating under that assumption, then he's not somebody I have much interest in.
All right, so let's now try to get some middle ground here. We went all the way to the top with Bradley Beal. There's a significant drop, right, of a couple of guys you're paying for in like that low 20 range. Again, one of the guys here, my guys in Philly, Curry at 21. Poole, though, I don't know, take him off as far as Patty Mills. I imagine that there's probably going to be some expectation of dip simply because of the return of Durant. So those 2 guys now, because of the Poole and Barton absence, those are really the mid-range pay options if you have them, right? That's it.
Yeah, and I do think Patty Mills is interesting, right? Because his minutes really shouldn't be impacted by Durant coming back, right? Patty Mills is going to be the point guard, or the point guard playing next to James Harden. I don't know, call whichever one you want, a point guard versus a shooting guard. They both essentially are out there at the same time doing the same things. Does his usage go down? I would imagine it does, but Patty Mills is a shot maker, right? On nights when he makes shots, he's going to put up points. So I like the idea of grabbing him at somewhat reduced ownership. Is the price tag high for him? I would say yes, right? In the long term, I don't think we're necessarily going to be paying $19 for Patty Mills very often, but I think that on this slate, it's okay to pay that price tag.
Right. So I guess the balance is minutes won't take a hit, but productivity may.
Yes.
But again, everything goes back to you only have 6 teams to choose from. So we're and this is what I love about trying to get inside your head here, is because we've had slates of now 3 games, I think 2 we even did at one point, all the way to double digit. So it's interesting to see, granted, game by game, slate by slate, but it's interesting to see the strategy bend a little bit, because on larger slates, I think there are a couple of guys that we wouldn't be getting to so far, at least in these 2 positions.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, you kind of have to be willing to get a little bit thinner than you normally would.
Anybody else you want to hit on the 2 spot? David Duke is back from protocol.
Yeah, he is.
I always feel so weird saying that name. So it's like,
I think
David Duke Jr.
Duke alone.
Right.
Okoro's the chalk at $10. I don't know if I necessarily think he's a smash, right? Like, I don't see Okoro as a guy who's going to all of a sudden become like this primary scoring threat or become a primary distributor. So I don't love Okoro at 10. I think I would rather pivot to Gary Harris at 12. I just feel a little bit safer about his role. He's going to be out there. He's going to be asked to score, given all the guys that Orlando is out at the moment. So even Grayson Allen at 12, I think is a possible pivot Even with the Bucks getting a little bit closer to full strength, he's a decent per minute guy. Like, again, we can get a little bit thin here and have it be okay if you're doing it for ownership purposes.
All right. So at the 3, it's a little more interesting here. It's a little bit, as far as cost effective, way more than what we've seen for the first 2, granted, because less talent as a whole here. But look, it almost feels like Chris Middleton's price on Yahoo has dropped as a result of what we've seen past couple of days, not 30 plus points. But at the same time, granted, the blowout factor is clearly here against Orlando. Just seems kind of cheap on this slate as a whole. Maybe I'm misreading it, Matt, but it just seems like $27 seems a little low, granted, reflecting of what we've seen as of the last 2 to 3 games, but not really what we can get from him against Orlando, even if it's only in a half to 3/4.
Right. It's definitely a price tag that does make you raise your eyebrows a little bit. He was as high as $37 earlier this season, so pretty significant discount. I don't think he's a bad play by any stretch, but for me, it's tough to click on his name when Franz Wagner is $1 cheaper.
Yeah.
I really like Wagner. I think he's a pretty good player. And just, again, with the way things are in Orlando right now, he's having to do everything. So he put up nearly 55 last time out against these Bucks. Usage rate was over 30%, 7 boards, 3 assists. I don't expect 50 plus again. He's probably not going to shoot 60% from the field and 50% from 3-point range, but I just think he's underpriced for what he's going to have to do. He's probably going to have to play around 38 minutes again. And he's an over a fantasy point per minute type of guy. So I really like Wagner in this spot. He's somebody that I'm eating the chalk with.
All right. So beyond that, right, if we were to pivot away from that chalk play for Wagner, there were 2 guys that I want to get your thoughts on it. Again, hit that thumbs up, please. If you're hanging with us, we appreciate that. We have over 600 people watching. All we ask in return is that we can get to triple digits before Lofty and Adam take over for the full deeper dive live before lock, Eric and Greg. So we have you covered here for this now 3-game slate. Who knows? It might be 2 by the time we actually hit lock. Lauri Markkanen, because of what's happened, a couple of guys down on Cleveland as well, and Pat Connaughton, maybe a sneakier way to get some value on Milwaukee since you're paying $11 less than Chris Middleton.
Yeah, the only thing with Connaughton is that the minutes just really haven't been there recently. 22 minutes last game, 17 minutes and change on Christmas. Like, now that the team is inching back to full strength, he really just doesn't have the same role that we saw earlier this season. So I'm not really interested in him. Markkanen, I think, is very strong at his price tag, but again, I think he's going to command decent ownership. The sneaky guy to me in Cleveland tonight is Denzel Valentine. Yeah. And I'm kind of going out on a limb here. Our projections aren't in love with Valentine, for what it's worth, but he's somebody that we have seen serve as like a point forward, quasi distributor in the past. So I think that there's a chance that he fills that role for the Cavaliers. He's been pretty mediocre on a permanent basis this season, but this would be a whole different role for him, right? And it's tough to look at how the Cavs have played with Rubio, Garland, and Sexton all off the court this season, because that situation has almost never happened, right? They have played probably 0 competitive minutes with all 3 of those guys off the court this season. So I'm taking a little bit of a flyer on Valentine. We haven't projected for 3% ownership right now. I think if he does play more than expected, if he does get some ball handling and distributing opportunities, he could end up being a really nice pivot here.
All right, so we've got 2 spots left here. Final 6-7 minutes before, again, Lofty and Adam coming away for the full deeper dive. Let's hit the 4 spot. We have Giannis and Durant on the slate, so definitely have to pay attention to both of those. I guess the biggest question really across the board tonight is, will Durant be on a pitch count? Because that should impact how much you get to him, especially at $52.
Yeah, and given what Steve Nash has shown from us this season, he doesn't really believe in the pitch count, right? James Harden kind of came right back into the line of fire after his stint on health and protocol. So I would expect Durant to play, maybe not 39 minutes like we've seen from him at times, but 36, 37, I think is certainly reasonable. And that makes him a fine option at $52. I think Giannis is also definitely in play at $56. So this is a spot where I think paying up, especially now that we don't have Jokic, right? Like Jokic has been the best player in fantasy, not even close this season. So now that he's off the board, we can look at this sort of next tier down.
All right. So Durant, Giannis, are you trying to, on this short slate, work cheaper positions to get to both of these in your lineup?
I don't think I would have both. We don't have both grading out as like particularly strong values. So I would probably be looking to pair one of those guys with a Franz Wagner, maybe with a Bradley Beal, somebody like that.
Now, I'm not going to start with one of my own because I know how that usually goes. So I'll put Tobias Harris on the back burner. It's hard to ignore Kuzma, especially with Dinwiddie out at $22.
Yeah, he's fine. I think Beal coming back hurts him, to be honest. Okay. I don't see a great mid-range option here, right? Wendell Carter is going to be popular for the shorthanded Magic. I don't love his prospects against the Bucks. Tobias Harris is again, he's fine. He's been playing good basketball. He's very consistent, which is what you like about Tobias, but he also very rarely gives us that big game, and he just did it.
Right.
I don't like his chances of going 2 in a row.
No, especially in like assists and rebounds. That's where I would stay away from.
Right. If I was going to go with someone in this range, I'd go Evan Mobley. Only 30 minutes in his first game back, but he should be, sort of ticking up in that department as he gets further removed. And he's been pretty good for us all year. So I would go there. But again, I think that this is a position where I'm getting up to one of the top 2 guys.
Okay. So really, when we're looking at anybody else, it would just be to pivot. And again, we have 3 games, so it's not a major factor here, but you would try and just pivot away from rostership. Is there anybody else? Again, George Niang comes off a gigantic game, but I'm not going to slide. I'm for you and your new year. I'm not going to slide this guy into the conversation. We'll only keep it top heavy.
All right. Thank you. If you are going to go down to the $10 range, Dean Wade, a lot of minutes.
Dean Wade, there you
go.
A
lot of ownership. Dean Wade seems fine.
Okay. I love that. Anybody, really, that's kind of it. Again, because of what's happened here.
I have some Mo Wagner exposure, but we're projecting Wagner for like 15% ownership on Yahoo. And to me, that's not when you want to play Mo Wagner. You want to play Mo Wagner when he's going to be like a 5% owned type of guy. So I don't have a lot of interest if he's going to be 15%.
All right. So now no Jokic, Jared Allen out. So maybe this decision is a little easier for you at the 5.
Yeah. Well, Joel Embiid to me definitely goes into that stud conversation. You can put him right up there with Kevin Durant and Giannis. And honestly, I might have Embiid as my favorite of that group. But those are the clear top 3 studs. I think you want to have plenty of all 3. So I like Embiid quite a bit. We've talked quite often recently about how he's playing better. The usage is up. He just looks much healthier than he did at the beginning of the year. So he's a great play, but Daniel Gafford for me is an awesome play, right? Him and Montrezl Harrell have been splitting the center minutes in Washington all season, but with no Harrell, those minutes are now all Gafford's. He got 36.5 minutes in his last game, finished with just under 34 points. That makes sense, right? He's a 1.09 fantasy point per minute player on the year. So if you expect him to get to, 34, 35, 36 minutes again, he's a strong bet to return value. So even in lineups when I'm using Embiid, there's a good chance that I will have Gafford with him and I'll be using 2 centers.
Anybody else you want to hit on the way? The other thing about Embiid is Aldridge comes back. And to your point about no pitch count, I don't know what shape this guy's in. Embiid could come out and destroy. I'll tell you, you get plus money on the Sixers to win the first quarter tonight. I would slam that because Embiid might have 14 points on LaMarcus Aldridge's head by the time the first quarter is over. So I love that little angle to it. Is there anybody else that you want to attack here? Kevin Love, you mentioned Cleveland trying to get minutes for other guys. You brought up Gafford, so I don't know if that kind of dominates that. Maybe somebody at the bottom end, but there may not be a need really to pivot off of the two guys that you really mentioned.
Yeah, I do think Love deserves a shout out, right? The thing with Love all year is he has been just crushing in limited minutes. They've seemed to have capped his minutes, 24-ish, but not in his last game. His last game, he got up over 32 minutes. If he's going to play 32 minutes moving forward, this guy can do some major work. He's at 1.38 fantasy points per minute over the past month. So Love for sure is somebody that you are going to want to have in your player pool tonight. I think Gafford's safer, but I think Love has arguably more upside.
Awesome. Appreciate everybody hanging with us. Again, if you're here, hit that thumbs up button, please. Lofty, Adam, come your way. Make sure you're paying attention. The injury report is out every day, so you can pay attention, especially now with all this volatility, who's up, who's down, knowing where to go. Thanks to Matt again for hanging here. 2021, bringing you all the insight you can for Yahoo. Jordan producing. Again, the full live before lock, before that deeper dive coming your way right now. Matt, Happy New Year, my friend.
Happy New Year, guys.
Hopefully, yes. Enjoy it. Enjoy it. Stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy, everybody, and watch a lot of basketball. It's there for you.
And Jordan, if you can, do what you did on the earlier show. Yo, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Awesemo.com NBA Deeper Dive presented by Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports. I'm Dave Loughran, along with Adam Scher at Ship My Money DFS, breaking down what was once a 4-game slate, now a 3-gamer. Just a bunch of decimated teams, Adam. Even the ones that are going to be active today. Of course, the one that got postponed with the Warriors and Nuggets came as a result of not having 8 players to throw onto the court today. So we should be good with these other 3, but we went from a small slate to an even more abbreviated slate tonight.
Yeah, and still waiting on plenty of news. We don't exactly know who is starting for Orlando. We don't know who is playing for Washington. We know they have enough players. We just don't know who those players are. Cleveland, we sort of have no idea what they're doing either. So still plenty of stuff to talk about and try and figure out.
How you feeling today?
Not bad.
Yeah.
A little bit of allergies.
Are you thinking this is once again just a straight stars and scrub slate where you've got Jokic? Or I'm sorry, you don't have Jokic anymore. You have Giannis, you have KD, you have Embiid, who's been on an absolute tear lately as well. Is this just going to be another slate where we can have the pick of the litter from the top price guys just based on what value opens up? Or is
I think so, because you're still going to have value, even if it's not value you feel super confident in. There's still some cheap guys that are playing more minutes than normal, and there's a ton of guys to pay up for. Now, granted, you did lose Curry, you did lose Jokic, but you still have Embiid, you still have Harden, you still have Durant, you still have Giannis. Maybe you have Bradley Beal if you want to include him in there. So I think that it's still going to be a slate where you're looking to those expensive guys to kind of get the raw points in your lineup.
Well, hit that thumbs up if you haven't done so yet. The boy from Cali, thanks, man. That's very nice of you. Hopefully you guys have a great New Year's. I was supposed to go hang out with some friends that used to be my neighbors, but I don't think I'm going to make it, man. If I feel anything like tomorrow, like I did today, I'm keeping my ass home. And I don't care about the ball drop. I mean, it's really the dumbest tradition out there. Yeah,
I'm already debating if I'm going out tomorrow because, like, I've been like planning on it, like, oh yeah, I'll go to the bar or whatever. And then as it comes up, it's just like, I don't really want to just go be in a crowd of random ass people. And like, I'd rather just go to the bar on other nights.
Yeah, but just the overall idea of dropping the ball, it's stupid. Like, I remember when I was younger and I was like, oh, I'll get to see this for the first time. It's going to be awesome. I thought the ball was really going to, the bottom was going to fall out. Comes down like a mile per hour. It's the dumbest thing ever.
Extremely slow.
It's really slow. There's just very little reason to watch something like that outside of sitting around with friends and family who have all seen it before. If I miss it, I have zero concern about that. It's just I'm not drinking with a cold like this. I'll wake up feeling even worse the next day. You know how that goes.
Yep.
And you know what I was thinking the other day? Hangovers aren't like they used to. Remember when you were at like house parties with high school kids and you'd get up the next morning after an absolute banger, just drinking all night, whatever you could get your hands on, Nikolai, plastic handles of vodka. You'd wake up in the morning and be like, all right, I'm good to go.
Yeah, even like bartending, like in my early 20s, it was just like you'd be up drinking until like 4 and then you would just get up and go to work the next day.
What happens if you drank like far too much at your age now?
If I even drink a little bit now, I'm dead for like a day.
Dude, I'm dead. Sorry, I'm dealing with this cold. I'm dead. And that'll be like the one silver lining if I don't get to do this. I just won't have to be miserable for the entirety of Saturday. But
exactly.
Anyway, hit that thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. We're at 69,700 plus. We're almost at 70K. Thanks to you guys. And we'll be there soon enough. Also, if you want to join, become part of Team Awesemo, hit that join now. Hit that join now and get the custom emojis, super chats, free super chats, the badges, all of that good stuff. And of course, we'll always prioritize your questions and you name it. All right, let's make it happen. Philadelphia at Brooklyn. Oh, sorry. I was reading someone said RIP Laffy. I thought he was saying, no, it was just a troll. Okay. I'm waiting for I hooked up with Justine before Laffy did at Temple. He's coming, Jordan. He's coming. Get ready. Get ready for him. He'll make 3 accounts in 5 seconds. All right, let's do this. Philly and Brooklyn. Philly on the road against Brooklyn. 5.5-point dogs here. I guess there's no better place to start than Joel Embiid. I mean, he has He went through a rough period there. Some of that too was coming off of COVID. He clearly wasn't himself, but I don't really see any residual effects anymore or lasting effects from that. He's playing huge minutes. He's back to shooting well. He's getting to the line at an insane clip. He's rebounding well at him. He's blocking a lot of. You're getting all of the elite type numbers that you're looking for in Joel Embiid. Where do you prioritize him though among all of the top tier options today, especially given that we lost Curry and we lost Jokic within the past hour?
Yeah, I mean, he certainly looks better now with Jokic and Curry out, particularly Jokic. We haven't gotten an ownership update yet, but I expect that you'll see Embiid's ownership increase. He was at 22.5% earlier. I think that probably goes up a bit because we had Jokic at 38%. But there's still plenty of opportunity cost at center. We have particularly Daniel Gafford, who we'll talk about when we get to the Washington game. But so there is still some opportunity cost there. It makes it a little bit more difficult to get to Embiid. But on DraftKings in particular, where you can roster the two centers, it'll be a little easier. He's around the 1.5 fantasy point per minute guy. It should be a competitive game against Brooklyn. I think he looks really good, especially with Jokic gone.
Yeah, I think so too. Now the rest of Philly is always interesting. I mean, was that Tobias's first triple double ever?
I have no idea. I didn't even know he had a triple double.
I'm pretty sure Tobias had a triple double. I could be wrong. Yeah, he had a triple double. But surprising too. You never see that out of him. What are you doing with the rest of Philly? Starting with someone like Tobias Harris in this front court tonight.
Yeah, I think it's kind of site dependent. Harris on DraftKings is 8,800. On FanDuel, I believe he's 7,400. Looks like a good option on FanDuel. He's averaged a fantasy point per minute in the games he's played with Embiid this year. He's averaged just shy of 36 minutes per game. Looks pretty good there. On DraftKings at 8,800, I think it's a lot more difficult to get to. Tyrese Maxey, kind of the opposite. He's fine on FanDuel at 6,600. He was in my tournament plays video as someone that I thought was going a little bit under-owned. But on DraftKings, he looks even better at 5,600. He's averaged 3/4 of a fantasy point per minute in the games that he's played with Harris and Embiid active, but he's also averaged almost 33 minutes per game and just looks like a pretty decent option. So I think that depending which site we're talking about, you have Harris and Maxey. As far as the rest of these guys, Seth Curry, Matisse Thybulle, I think it's pretty difficult to get to them with any sort of regularity.
Somebody said, the guy talking in 2.0 speed, I love it. I'm assuming he's referring to you, but I think it seems even faster because I'm speaking in like 0.5 speed today. Yeah.
I think the difference between us is a little bit more pronounced.
It's significant today. There's no doubt about it. I'm trying to remember what words are coming next, and you're just ripping through them, man. But yeah, if you look at ownership for Philly right now, you've got Maxey coming in at 23%, Matisse around 14%, and we all know that he's a defensive specialist. You're hoping that he racks up some stocks and hopefully knocks down a couple of 3-pointers. But are there any absences on this team? Unlike so many of the other teams, there aren't many, but you have 3 other teams that are completely depleted. Are there any absences, COVID-related or injuries for Philly that really open things up?
No, I mean, Shake Milton's questionable, but I don't think he really matters one way or the other. If he plays, he probably doesn't play enough minutes to really be a strong option. If he's out, it doesn't open up a ton. I mean, Matisse Thybulle did play 36 minutes last game. If Milton's out, there's a better chance that you get a little bit more run from Thybulle, I think. But it's not like he's a great fantasy producer anyway. Philly's pretty close to full strength, at least for DFS purposes.
For sure. And Maxey hasn't been particularly good, but if you're getting 34 to 36 minutes out of him and hopefully a competitive game, it feels like the price is beginning to come back down to earth. He's been one of the most egregiously priced players in terms of overpriced over the past few weeks.
Yeah, he had seen his price like really skyrocket because he was playing 40+ minutes every night with
huge usage too.
Out. What'd you say?
Huge usage too.
Right.
Yeah. So it makes a big difference. And I guess we could talk Brooklyn then. So Kevin Durant, James Harden, Kyrie Irving, he should be back here. He could be back by the 5th of January. So we'll keep an eye out for that. As of now, though, they're doing just fine with KD and James Harden. Let's kick it off at the top then with Kevin Durant, against the Philly team that really has seen a pretty significant step back, some serious regression defensively. That'll happen when Ben Simmons isn't on the floor. I'm not saying they're the worst, Adam, but they're 19th in defensive rating, whereas last year they were one of the best teams in the league. It's totally different when you're looking at opponents this year.
Yeah, for sure. Simmons, obviously, he has his faults offensively, but he's an impact player defensively. Taking him out makes the matchup a little bit better. This is Durant's first game back, so we don't entirely know what to expect, but I think we can kind of take a look at what James Harden did in his first game back, and I don't think it's unreasonable to expect similar playing time from Durant. Harden came back, played, I believe, 35 or 36 minutes in his first game. That's my expectation for Durant here. He's played 24 games with Harden active this year, 1.35 DraftKings points per minute in 36.3 minutes per game. Harden, in the games that he's played with Durant, is at 1.35 DraftKings points per minute as well, 35.9 minutes per game. So both of these guys with Durant back, they look good, but they obviously cut into each other's production a bit. It makes it so neither one stands out in the way that somebody like Harden would essentially be a must play if Durant were out. But I think they both also benefit from the loss of Jokic and Curry. Just, less opportunity cost when you're paying up.
For sure. And let me make sure we've got the most recent run of ownership projections. Yeah, we do. So right now you've got James Harden at 42% on DraftKings, Adam, 27.9% going to Kevin Durant. And then the rest of this team, as we've seen often when both Durant and Harden are healthy, just getting zero ownership at all.
I was distracted by chat.
Talking about the fact that nobody else, I told you he'd be back. That's the third account of this guy already.
Yeah, that was the second one I'd seen.
Are you, what I was saying is, among Harden and Durant, they're pulling like 42%, 28% ownership respectively. Outside of that, though, there's nothing, even on a 3-game slate, going to, LaMarcus Aldridge or Johnson or Patty Mills or really any of these guys.
Yeah, I don't really think that there should be either. I mean, if you're playing 150 lineups or whatever, then obviously you can kind of just take shots at Aldridge or Claxton or Brown, just because there are only 3 games to choose players from. But if you're trying to actually narrow it down and really prioritize guys, if you're not playing 150 lineups, or even if you are and you're just talking about priorities, I don't really think there's anything else from Brooklyn. We don't know exactly how many minutes Aldridge is going to play. I think it's likely that you get 48 combined from him and Claxton, probably like 24 apiece, maybe 26, 22 in Aldridge's favor. But it's not exactly like he's cheap anyway. Patty Mills is really expensive. Bruce Brown may or may not start. If he comes off the bench, it's really difficult to trust his minutes. Even if he starts, it's difficult to trust his production, and he's probably only playing, mid-20s in minutes. So there's nothing really else that I can feel confident in outside of Durant and Harden.
Okay. So I'm looking at our boom bust tool right now, and let me see what's free today. What's free on the site? Oh, okay. NBA player rankings, NHL ownership projections. I wasn't sure if NBA ownership projections was free today. It's player rankings for NBA, entirely free over at awesemo.com, or use promo code NBA Live, all caps, all one word. Get 25% off your first week of Awesemo Plus Platinum. Everything on the site, every sport, all of our tools. But yeah, at the top of the boom rating, you've got a bunch of just really cheap guys, which is what we've seen. I don't think it's been updated yet no, it hasn't been updated yet for that. So once we get it updated for the late game being out, which was the only late game, otherwise there's 3 7 p.m. games, then we can talk about that. So Jordan, if you see that updated, let me know if we update the boom bust tool while we're doing this show. All right. Anything else from either side of this game?
No, I think that's about it.
All right. Shout out to our sponsor, Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports. You're not going to find a better deal. Are we still doing this Xmas 100? Is this still happening? What's it, through the new year, I guess? Okay. Use the promo code Xmas 100, all one word, get $100 deposit bonus. And I don't think it's a match deposit bonus from what everyone's told me. It's $100 bonus. If you put in 20, you get 100. So that's awesome. And you get a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum if you use the link in the description and the one our producer Jordan Klein is about to throw into chat right now. So yeah, take advantage of that. $100 deposit bonus, free month of Awesemo Plus, $90 value. And all of the tools that we have over at Awesemo we have Yahoo built in. We have built for all Yahoo stuff as well. Projections, ownership, top stack, boom bust tool, lineup builder, all of that stuff. Once you sign up at Yahoo using our link and get that free month, you'll have access to all of the tools for Yahoo as well, along with all of the other sites on top of that. So yeah, we'll we'll email you. We'll reach out to you with your free subscription, get you in our Discord, premium Discord, and hook you up with the free 30 days, $90 value over there at awesemo.com. Just use the link and use that promo code Xmas100 when you sign up and deposit at Yahoo. And check out the 50K baller tonight. They also have another $1 million NFL baller on Sunday. And the best part, last thing I'll say about this, because it's important, you're going to get lower management fees. You may know it as rake at Yahoo than any other place, like 33% payouts, 2x your entry fee, even if you min cash. You can't beat that when it comes to sustaining your bankroll. So check it out. Use that link and use the promo code. All right, Adam, let's go to.
We got the Boom Bust tool updated.
Oh, we did? Okay, good. Let me just pull this up, make sure we're in business here.
Well, we did, and then it updated again, and now it's gone.
Yeah, no, that's what I saw. That's what I saw. That's what I was talking about, because I thought it was updated because I saw a minute ago, and it wasn't. So
yeah, it was, and then
it did, and then it
reverted. And then we updated it again, and now it's gone.
Okay, all right. I'll reach out to someone because I want to be able to reference this throughout the show. But in the meantime, let's talk a little bit about Milwaukee and Orlando. The Bucks laying 14 points on the road, 217.5 total. They're one of the few teams that is not really worse for wear when it comes to COVID right now, or any significant injuries outside of Brook Lopez, who's been out since he's played one game since the middle of October. I mean, this team is essentially at full strength across the board.
Yeah, it's a really weird slate where you have, half of these teams just missing everybody, and then the other half essentially healthy. Milwaukee, it's a really good spot against Orlando, but they're another team where it's difficult to prioritize a whole lot. Giannis looks very good. He's averaged just shy of 32 minutes per game this year and 1.75 DraftKings points per minute in the games that he's played with Holiday and with Middleton. There is some blowout risk here, but it's also only a 3-game slate. Even if you just assume Giannis plays around 30 minutes, he projects as a strong option. Outside of that, though, there's not a whole lot that I think you can really feel confident in at their prices. We know that Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton are both capable of having big games, but they're both still priced up from when Giannis was out. Bobby Portis is likely to play 28 or 29 minutes, but he's also expensive from when Giannis was out. DeMarcus Cousins is priced up from when Portis was out, so it's tough to get there. And then you just have a bunch of wings that cut into each other's minutes with Pat Connaughton, Grayson Allen, Dante DiVincenzo is back playing like 16 minutes a game. George Hill probably plays low 20s, but it's not like he's a very good point per minute guy. So I think you can take flyers in tournaments on somebody like Grayson Allen at virtually no ownership and just, hope that he shoots well and gets a few extra minutes, but pretty low probability play. And I think pretty much everything from Milwaukee is, with the exception of Giannis.
Where's Giannis ranked for you among all the top tier guys? That's going to be a popular question coming into a small 3-game slate.
Number 1.
Oh, he is number 1?
Yeah.
Okay. By a wide margin?
Not by a wide margin. Like, ownership definitely still matters, but so it's like you expect him to play a lot fewer minutes than Harden and Durant, but he also averages 0.4 of a fantasy point per minute more than either of those guys. So that helps make up for it. He has the good matchup against Orlando. His positional eligibility allows a little bit more flexibility than Embiid. So I think it's just going to be easiest to get to him. And then right now, also looking at the ownership projections, we have him getting about the same ownership as Embiid. We have him getting less than Harden. I'd feel a little bit differently if like Giannis was 42% and Harden was 32, but with Harden getting more ownership, I would just rather get to Giannis.
It's interesting though, when you look at ownership for this slate, you've got 4 guys north of 11,000, and they're just on DraftKings, and they're all grouped pretty tightly together within $600 of each other. According to our ownership right now, you got them all really close. I mean, Durant, Giannis, Embiid are all between 28 and 32%. And then you've got Harden up there at 42, but nobody's really pulling away, or none of them are really getting no ownership either. So it doesn't seem like there's a clear top option just in terms of where the field is going on this slate either.
Yeah. And I mean, I think like if you look at Alex's projections, he's got Giannis number 1 at 53.5. Harden's at 51, Durant's at like 50, Embiid's at 49. Realistically, those are more or less the same.
Boom Bust tool is officially updated as well. Just making sure okay. And the highest boom percentage is Giannis among all of those high price guys, just above someone like James Harden. So interesting. And not
you can see like the boom percentage or the optimal percentage?
No, but I can see the boom percentage. You're right. We got the Magic starting lineup. Pretty good timing.
Yeah, for sure. And that's not what I was going to guess. So I'm glad that we got it.
You want to talk about the Magic, or you got anything else for the Bucks?
Well, I don't want to talk about the Magic, but I also don't have anything on the Bucks.
Well, we got to talk about the Magic. So, Frazier, Harris, Franz Wagner, GSP, and Carter Jr. That's our starting lineup today, Adam. Let's try and methodically break this one down with all of the red just strewn across the player pool when it comes to the Magic today. It's a mess.
Yeah, I mean, they should be one of the highest owned teams, and that is horrifying when you're talking about a team that is just playing a bunch of terrible players, or at least a lot of terrible players, and has a 102 implied total. But there's a lot of playing time to go around. There's a lot of usage to go around. You still are missing Anthony and Suggs. They, are the highest usage guys here. So you're likely to get 36 plus minutes from Franz Wagner. He's averaged 0.92 DraftKings points per minute without those guys. Wendell Carter Jr. played about 33 minutes last game. His rebounding numbers go up, as you would expect when he's playing without Robin Lopez or Mo Bamba. So he looks even better here than he did previously. Gary Harris has been fine. He's likely to play 36 plus minutes at 5,100. Tim Frazier slides into the starting lineup. He's not a great fantasy producer, but in his career, in all of his career starts, he has about a 15.5% usage rate, 31.7% assist percentage. We know he can get it done as a playmaker. So if you assume he's going to play 26 minutes or so at 3,100, he looks like one of the better values. And then you have RJ Hampton coming off the bench, who he's come off the bench in all of their games recently, and he's typically giving you 28 to 30 minutes. He's been extremely heavily involved without Suggs or Anthony this year. He has averaged 0.83 DraftKings points per minute, but it's on 43% true shooting. So as the sample grows and you expect Hampton's shooting to at least get a little bit better, that fantasy production should improve as well. He has a 21% usage rate, 27.5% assist percentage. So even coming off the bench, he looks like a very good value. Beyond those guys, you have Freddie Gillespie in the starting lineup. I don't really know what to expect from him. He hadn't played a lot recently. He only played 10.5 minutes in the last game. But since he's starting, I would guess you're getting like 24 minutes or so. And going back to his time with Toronto, for his career, he's averaged 0.79 DraftKings points per minute in 24 games. So if you do get 24 minutes or so, he's going to look like a decent value. Mo Wagner, 3,200, I'm assuming plays 18 to 20 minutes. He's a very good point per dollar producer. So there's a lot of different ways you can go on this Orlando team.
Gillespie, and yes, I know it's Gillespie. Gillespie just sounds like it's a nice Italian, Freddie Gillespie. But do you think he gets 24 minutes? I mean, as a starter this season, or as a starter today, he's played 4 games all year, I think it is. And you're getting so many of these guys that are just introduced to the rotation without anything, given all of the COVID. How many minutes do you project for him? You say 24 seems reasonable? Yeah,
I mean, I think it seems reasonable since he's starting. He only played 10.5 minutes last game, so you can't be too confident. But at the same time, Robin Lopez played 24 minutes. He's out. Asani Gravett played 18.5 minutes. He's out. So there's a lot of minutes to be picked up. And the fact that Gillespie's starting makes me think that he's getting the first opportunity. I think one other way you kind of can approach it, I'm trying to find the game now, but Admiral Schofield had started 2 games ago against Miami. In that game, he played 26 minutes. Gillespie played 12.5 off the bench, but I think you could see a similar rotation to Schofield where, you're getting mid-20s from Gillespie.
So how many guys do you think they run in the rotation tonight?
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9.
Okay.
Carter, Wagner, Hampton, Harris, Frazier, Schofield, other Wagner, Gillespie, Brasdeikis.
How many minutes are we giving to Hampton? That price point is very low. I know on a per minute basis he isn't great, but he's got to play north of 30 if the game stays somewhat competitive, which is a stretch to begin with, right?
Yeah, I have him at 30 now. The last couple of games off the bench, he's played 28 and 32. I think that 30 is probably, if anything, it's probably erring on the low end, but it's still going to get him in a ton of lineups.
So you and I don't like to talk about blowout risk all that often, but I do think it's probably reasonable that we touch on it a little bit today with this game. Let's just assume that it's out of control and at no point is it competitive. I mean, listen, look at the starting lineup and tell me that against a essentially fully healthy Bucks team And I know basketball, weird things happen, and it might not blow out to the fourth, but as it stands, it's pretty likely that this game isn't close. Who do you think soaks up that additional run with a 9-man kind of condensed rotation? Who do you think that would be that gets those extra potential 8-9 minutes in the fourth quarter? Because that could be significant.
Yeah, I don't necessarily know that it really matters though, because like, okay, if it's a true blowout, probably Gary Harris doesn't play at the end. Hampton's probably still playing. There's a good chance Wagner's still playing. There's no reason Gillespie couldn't be playing. Maybe they rest Wendell Carter Jr. and go to like Schofield or something. But at least for Franz Wagner and Hampton and probably Gillespie, I don't really think the score is going to matter.
Really? Okay. I guess you're right. I mean, what are the alternatives at this point? There's really no real reason to bench starters when they're not your original starters anyway. So
yeah, and in the case of Wagner, you're talking about a rookie. Just get him some more NBA playing time. Get
you're right.
RJ Hampton some more playing time.
You're right. It's a good way to look at it. What's the point? I mean, we've seen Houston do that last year with a bunch of young players. You see it pretty often. So yeah, maybe you're right. Who are your top options on Orlando in order here? Just given that some of the prices are differing wildly.
Hampton, Carter, Frazier, Franz Wagner, Gillespie, Mo Wagner, Schofield, Brastakis.
Did you see where we have Mo Wagner's ownership right now?
No, I didn't.
37%.
That is high. We still have Gillespie at 6. I would assume that changes with the starting lineup.
Right. That's a good point. Yeah. It must change, you would think. I mean, how many minutes are you giving the Wagner right now, given what we have for the starting lineup? Mo Wagner.
18 to 20. I think it's pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
Alex has 19. I think that's where I'm coming in as well.
Okay. What's his per minute production this year?
1.
Okay. I mean, it's fine.
Yeah, like I like Mo Wagner if that ownership comes down, because on average I think you're getting 18 minutes or so, and at 3,200 he still projects like a decent value, but there is volatility there. He could play more minutes alongside Wendell Carter than we're expecting. Orlando's certainly been willing to play 2 bigs for the entire season. So maybe, Carter can play 32 to 34, and instead of playing 4 minutes alongside him, you get like 8, and then you have, Wagner at 22 to 24 minutes. So there is a lot of volatility in his playing time. If the ownership comes down, I'll be really interested. If he stays projected that high, then I still think he's fine. But, I think there's a pretty good chance he's playing like 18 minutes.
Okay. Thanks for the super chat, Bruce. Somebody said Eric was an extra in Gone with the Wind. I'm assuming they're talking about EMAC. But speaking of actors, and I guess that's an age reference there. Have you ever seen Gone with the Wind?
No.
Me neither. Have you ever seen The Lion King?
Yeah, it was the first movie I saw in theaters.
Really? Okay. I haven't seen most of those. I feel like I was deprived as a kid. I wasn't, but I must have been, because I haven't seen most. Anyway, our buddy Eric Lindquist, obviously we know he has a storied acting career. And I went to look him up to find his acting reels, just as I sleuthed Matt Savoca singing, right, at NYU, doing duets and all that good stuff. He made all of them private, Adam. Every single one of them private.
Wait, what are you talking about with Eric?
Eric Lindquist was an actor. I guess he still is. And I wanted to see some of the stuff that he was in, like clips. He's made everything private. Everything he has is private. You can't find it on the internet.
Like actor in what?
I think he was in a Nutri-Grain bar commercial. I'm kidding. I don't know. But no, he was in Saving Silverman. He was in Old School.
What?
Yeah. Wedding Crashers.
Are you just making this shit up?
Yeah, 100%. But he was an actor. That's what I'm saying. And you can't find any of his stuff. He wasn't. You didn't know that Eric acted before all this?
No, I'm completely confused because I still have no idea what you're talking about.
Did you know that he was like a good amateur golfer until he got hit by a car?
I didn't know about the car part. I knew he golfed in college.
Yeah, he's got a pretty wild story. Pretty wild story. But yeah,
I still don't totally believe you on the car part.
Yeah, no, Jordan, am I lying? I'm telling the truth. I'm telling the truth.
Jordan's nodding his head that you're lying.
No. He's saying I'm telling the truth. All I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah, we should all browbeat Eric on Twitter into opening that up so we can see some of his acting reels. I don't think that's a bad thing, right? Wouldn't you want to see that?
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine that. I really just want to see how cringeworthy it is now.
Oh, come on. That's not very nice. What if it's good?
So if he made it private, it's either really cringeworthy or it's really good, and he's like embarrassed by his success.
That's a good point. That's not a bad point. Why make it private unless you're not very proud?
Especially Eric. He seems like a pretty open guy that, like, you know, unless it's really, really good or really, really bad, that he wouldn't care.
You're right. Well, I want to see it. I think I'd be proud of him. Anyway, I don't know how it got to that. It started with EMAC being in Gone with the Wind and Eric doing Nutrigrain commercials, but I want to see it. And yeah. Tim said Eric took everything down after he appeared in The Wire. Yeah, you just can't get any better than that. All right. Anything else for Orlando or Milwaukee?
I did not want to think about Eric being a porn star.
Did someone say that?
Yeah. No.
Go on IMDb. He has credits.
Yeah, so I pulled it up. I pulled up Eric Lindquist on IMDb, and like nothing's there.
I think he pulled a lot of stuff. So I even like typed in Eric Lindquist and then that whatever was on the credits, and nothing is there. Nothing.
Oh wait, there. Eric Lindquist is an actor and writer known for Not Done Yet 2014, Clara Grace 2015,
Great
and
flick.
Duel 2015.
I told you.
But there's no picture, so I don't even know if this is the same Eric Lindquist.
It's him. I asked him. That is him. Officially him. I don't know why he wouldn't put a picture. He's not a bad looking fella either. Little headshot up there. I'm not sure what's going on.
Oh, here you go. Now I found the filmography.
Now you're invested in this, aren't you?
Yeah.
Ross
it's a whole
K,
lot more interesting than
got memory. He memory holed it just straight out of 1984. Eric Lindquist as an actor no longer exists. I told you he's there. He's there. Hey, you know what else is there, Jordan? A lot of people winning money with the Awesemo Hall of Fame. Bet you didn't know that. If you go to awesemo.com/avatar, download it, use it as your avatar on Yahoo, DraftKings, FanDuel, wherever it is that you play, and finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more, well, we will give you a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. We will also induct you into the Hall of Fame right here as we do every night, and we'll give you that shout out on Twitter, and you get all that love. I mean, that sometimes is the best part, right? Most of these people are already premium subs using the tools, but they just like to be inducted once after another and get some love. All you got to do is tweet that win, screenshot at Awesemo HOF, and we'll get you covered. Like Neil. I mean, Neil has free access to the tools because Neil does content for us every week, and he wins a lot of money using that tools. As he said, same game tool. He's talking about the same game top plays tool that we always talk about on the strategy and the live before lock shows for NFL showdowns. Came up big for him because he took down 100K and 25K in the same night. You're the man, Neil. 65K chopping first 2 ways. Our boy Rinpack, catch him on the NBA First Look. Is that what it's called? First Look? No, Slate Starter with Eric Lindquist, the actor, every morning. And AHSKER, thanks for all the great content. You're welcome, man. Congratulations on the first place victory. And then you've got Jerry, 175, third out of 23,000. Listen, doesn't need to be a Millie Maker winner. You don't got to take down 60, 100K like Neil or Rinpack. As long as it's the top 3 in a field of top 5,000 or more, you get the free $90 value, Awesemo Plus Platinum. Win-win situation. And then Fark, another takedown in a field with 5K. Told you, look at that, piggy bank, $15 first place. You just got an Awesemo Plus subscription, not a prescription, although I need one after today. It's 6 times the value of that first place win. Start building that bankroll, fella. Congratulations. And Dave DeRemer just crushing with our prop tool, our parlay builder, over at OddsShopper. Got to shout this one out. Every single day, this dude's got another prop that's just hitting huge. 100 in the 1756. Gotta love the Awesemo Parlay Builder. I use it every day, bro. And the pro picks from Awesemo's experts. I'm running out of words to say about them. Put the right picks together and bang, like clockwork. Good shit. Everybody, welcome to the Hall of Fame. And if you've already been here, welcome back. Tweet us your wins at Awesemo HOF. Download the avatar at awesemo.com/avatar and get in today. Get that free month. All right. Are you still sleuthing over there on Eric Lindquist?
No, I was answering a super chat on the random ass dude the Wizards just signed, and then answering another question in chat.
Okay. What was the super chat? I don't even
Thoughts
see it.
on the random ass dude the Wizards just signed?
I know. I'm just saying the super chat must have been relatively far up because I don't see it anywhere. All right. Anyway, Cleveland and Washington. This is when it starts to get pretty insane. You've got Cleveland, who was already dealing with, the COVID outbreak, and they lost Sexton earlier in the year. Chetty Osman's been out. Darius Garland recently put on the COVID-19 list. Jared Allen is out. And then the biggest blow, just given all of the troubles they've had and how this team has outperformed expectations considerably, as Max Sisvoko would say, salary-based expectations. Losing Rubio to that ACL tear, man, what a huge blow to this team.
Yeah, it really sucks. I mean, it sucks for Rubio. It sucks, like if you're just a fan of Rubio in general, but also Cleveland just as a team. They're actually a good young team. They had, they were impressing this year and just keep getting destroyed by injuries. So yeah, it really sucks.
Caleb McLean says, Adam Scher, after further deliberation, I think the mom is responsible for the John Monet murders, not the brother.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't watched any John Monet stuff recently, so maybe, but I haven't watched any John Monet stuff recently because I'm firmly convinced it was the brother.
So you've done some research into this. It appears like over the years you have dug deep.
Yeah. No, I'm definitely like, if I see something on John Monet Ramsey, I'll watch it.
Okay. Hey, thanks, Steve. Appreciate you, man. We try and keep it light around here on a 3-game slate. Some people get offended when we talk about stuff.
It's disrespectful to the people that come for basketball.
What?
It's disrespectful to the people that came for basketball.
That's what he said, right? Yeah, disrespectful, highly insulting. I mean, fella, I don't even know if he's probably never coming back. He's gone over to RG or something, and that's okay. 3 games though. What are we supposed to do? Have some fun with us, kick back, let your hair down. Did you ever have a ponytail?
No, no. I mean, I had semi-long hair like in high school, but never ponytail.
Jordan, turn your mic on. I know for a fact, when you were a kid, did you have a rat tail? No? Okay.
No.
Did you have a bowl cut, Adam? I rocked the bowl cut. Probably.
No, never had a bowl cut.
No?
No.
Yeah, my parents tortured me. Okay. Someone had, like, I don't know if there's anything worse than the rat tail, right? Is there ever a worse style of hair than rocking the rat tail?
No, rat tail's bad.
It's awful. Super chat from Brody. Malik Newman for all the money tonight. Sorry for no message last time. Any thoughts on that, Adam?
Who's Malik Newman?
That's why I asked you.
No, I mean, that could be a person in YouTube chat. It could be somebody playing for the Cavs. I really don't know.
No, he's on the Cavs.
Oh, okay.
He's planning to sign a 10-day hardship contract with the Cavaliers.
I mean, I don't think they have to get that deep into the bench. They got Windler back. They got Stevens back.
What did you know about hardship contracts before the past couple seasons?
Did they exist before? Like,
I don't know. That's why I'm asking you, because I don't ever remember seeing that. Yeah. All right. Well, let's dive into this a little bit. We got Cleveland. No, Igor. Mullet. Come on, bro. Mullet in high school.
I forgot about the days you used to vape on this show.
Oh yeah, that was bad. That was bad. I came over to Awesemo. I was like, it's not fan vice anymore. Let's talk about Cleveland.
It's not no fantasy sports with an edge anymore.
Yeah, this cough's killing me. I'm about to check out, man. No, the edge thing was hilarious too. Was Vice supposed to be a play on words, like it was a vice, like it was or like advice and also a vice? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think so.
Right? Like it was.
I mean, I had nothing to do with the name, but I think that was the concept.
Double meaning. Yeah. I mean, did you jump off the boat?
No, I didn't jump off the boat.
Okay. Did you do the Corvette?
No, I wasn't in Miami for any of that.
Okay. Okay. Did you want to be?
No.
All right. Cleveland. There were some good people over there, though. Let me just say there were some
Yeah,
good
for sure.
people that treated me extraordinarily well, and I enjoyed my time. But yeah, the vape had to go. Had to go. All right, Cleveland. Talk to me about the rest of this team. What's left of this team? No Allen, no Garland, Rubio done for the year. Like I said, Chetty Osman out. Let's start at the top here with Evan Mobley. What do we do with him tonight as the most expensive player in Cleveland?
Yeah, so I think that the Cleveland team in general, I think there's a lot of volatility here in basically the level of production that we're going to get, because we don't have any sort of real sample size on what this team looks like without any of Sexton, Garland, or Rubio on the floor. I think that Mobley and Markkanen are two of the bigger wild cards in that neither one is a really high usage guy typically, but I think they're more likely to step up and take on a bigger role than guys like Isaac Okoro or Dean Wade. For the season, Mobley has a 19.2% usage rate. I think it's likely that you see that increase here. Ownership-wise, I will be really interested. I think that plays a big role in how I see Mobley. Right now, we only have him at 18%. To me, that's really interesting when he's the fifth highest owned guy on Cleveland. I get it because he's expensive, but I just think that you could potentially see a much more productive than normal Evan Mobley tonight.
KJ, settle down, fella. It's a 3-game slate, and we have 18 minutes to go. You'll be okay. Looking at the boom bust tool, he's very upset with me. I mean, just very upset. Dean Wade, Kevin Love, Lauri Markkanen. In our boom bust tool, did we update for optimal percentage yet?
I'm refreshing now.
We did. Okay. All right. So Kevin Love, Dean Wade, Lauri Markkanen are 4, 5, and 6 in boom rating. Pretty intense. Now, at the same time, though, their optimal lineup percentages are all lower, not by much, at least not in the case of Kevin Love and Dean Wade, than the boom percentage. Positive leverage scores, not by much, though. What do you make of them based on this tool tonight?
I really like Kevin Love. I don't know if he'll start. I think we could see him start and you just go with a bigger Cleveland lineup, but I think there's also a good chance that you see Kevin Pangos start in place of Rubio. Josh and I talked about it a bit this morning. Obviously, Pangos is the more natural fit in terms of position, but you also just have so much usage vacated that Kevin Love, who also is a capable passer and everything, you could just kind of throw him out there and see how it works out. But either way, I think Love's going to play good minutes off the bench. He played 32 minutes last game. I think you probably get 30 minutes or so from him again here at least. So I think he looks very good. Without Sexton or Garland on the floor this year, he's at 1.38 DraftKings points per minute, has a 24% usage rate. I fully expect that to go up a lot with Rubio out. And actually, that still had Garland on the floor. So, yeah, I mean, I think you're going to get tons and tons of usage from Love here. Dean Wade looks fine just because he should play a lot of minutes. He's cheap. In a very limited sample without Rubio, Garland, or Sexton, Wade has seen his rates go up across the board. He's only played 40 minutes without them, but he has a 16% usage rate and a 16% assist percentage. So I think that he's someone that, maybe doesn't become a high usage guy, but just contributes a little bit more than he normally does in a bunch of categories. So at 3,700, it makes him look pretty good. Okoro, kind of the same thing. I don't think it's likely you see him just come out and start taking a ton of shots, but I think that you will see an increase on his normal production.
How many are you willing from Cleveland to play in the same lineup today where you've got, just from an ownership standpoint, none of them are pulling absurd. I mean, Isaac Okoro is around 33%, and we know all about him. He'll get the minutes, but is this somebody that's going to produce at a high clip? No, he's actually a terrible per minute guy. Of course, you won't have Rubio. You won't have a lot, but how much can you okay, let's back this up for a second, Adam. Since you lose Rubio and you lose Garland and Sexton's been done, who do we rely upon to actually bring the ball up the court? Who are we looking at to actually control the offense and do so? Who can create their own shots on this team tonight?
Right. That's kind of the issue is not really anybody. But I think that as far as you asked, how many I'm willing to roster together, I think ideally 3. With it being a 3-game slate, if you ended up with 4 somewhere, it's probably not the end of the world. But the one thing with Cleveland is that there's a lot of usage to go around. There are still a lot of bodies here, though. So this isn't a situation like normally when I'm willing to roster, like 5 guys from a team, it's when they have 8 players and everybody's going to play 30 plus minutes. That's not the case here. You did get Windler back. You got Stevens back. You still have Anderson. You have Denzel Valentine. Like, you don't need to get tons and tons of run from anyone except the main pieces here. So I'll probably end up capping it around 3.
See, Clownin gets it. Clownin gets it. Appreciate you, man. Yeah, that's what the deeper dive is all about. Super chat from James. Hey guys, who are your top 2 studs and value plays? Okay, good question. On the night on FanDuel, who's your top 2 stud value fades with high ownership tonight? Adam, who are your top 2 value fades? It's kind of a lot to answer there, but no, didn't have frosted tips. Wookie, come on now. What top 2? There's only a few at this point really high owned guys now that we lost Golden State and Denver. So just favorite top tier guys and favorite value guys.
For FanDuel, favorite top tier guys. Let me get to FanDuel. Giannis and probably Harden as far as pay ups. For value are let me go to here. For value on FanDuel, Gafford at 5,200, Okoro at 4,600, both look really good. As far as guys that look over-owned, I think that, or at least right now, we're projecting Tim Frazier to be pretty over-owned, still to be in a lot of, to be in the optimal lineup a lot. Projecting Mo Wagner to be over-owned on FanDuel, projecting Embiid to be quite a bit over-owned as well.
All right. Anything else for Cleveland? It's a mess. It's a mess out there, but is there anything else you want to hit on?
Yeah, Kevin Pangos, especially if he starts, I think is a reasonable value at 3,800. He's another, relatively low usage guy. He's played the most minutes on the team without Sexton, Garland, or Rubio. He's played 69 minutes. He's averaged 0.69 DraftKings points per minute, 17% usage rate, 26% assist percentage. Denzel Valentine, certainly somebody you can take a flyer on as well. You could see him, play a little bit bigger role as a playmaker here too. So I think priority-wise, it's Love, Mobley, Markkanen, Wade, and Okoro. Pangos is a reasonable value. Taking some shots on Denzel Valentine's reasonable. I doubt that I get to anything else unless someone else is a starter.
Matt Praz, Eric Lindquist, the actor, is alive. Eric Lynch, the actor, no. Man, poor guy passed away in 2014. R.I.P. The true Eric, the actor. No, you don't know who that is?
No.
Howard Stern show, Eric the Midget.
No.
Formerly known as Eric the Midget, then Eric the actor, then Eric the idol expert. Oh man, you got to go back to those days of Artie and how. Oh, it was good back when it was still good. But I know what you're referencing, Matt. All right, let's get back on track before people yell at us. We wouldn't want that. Washington, Bradley Beal coming into this one questionable. He is cleared to play. So, do you have any concerns? And I have to ask you this: he's been cleared to play, but do you have any concerns about him getting his normal allotment of minutes and playing up to the standards that we would expect from Bradley Beal? And does it matter anyway, given that he's already pretty expensive?
I mean, I have some concerns just because it seems like it's really a case-by-case basis when these guys come back from COVID, how their conditioning is, how many minutes they're able to play. I haven't seen anything saying he's going to be limited. Thank God Scott Brooks is gone. We won't get that they're going to monitor his minutes most likely. But until I see something otherwise, I'm going to assume that you're getting mid-30s in minutes from Beal. On FanDuel, he's pretty cheap and looks pretty good. On DraftKings, I think it's really tough to get there. I mean, it gets a little bit easier since you did lose the Golden State game, and Dinwiddie being out potentially opens the door for more production. But Beal's at 1.17 DraftKings points per minute without Dinwiddie on the floor this year, 31% usage rate, 30% assist percentage. It's just still really tough to get there at 10-1 on DraftKings. Much easier on FanDuel.
Okay. Yeah, I think it is too. So I don't really know how much it matters outside of him returning and everybody else being out. Now, what are we doing here with Spencer Dinwiddie being sidelined? I mean, he played 42 minutes last game against the Miami Heat. So you're without Dinwiddie. You're still without Montrezl Harrell. Aaron Holiday's out. Davis Bertans is out. Howell Neto is out. They're down a lot, but the Dinwiddie news is huge. It would have been even bigger in the event that Bradley Beal was sidelined, but getting him back at least makes them a little bit more whole here to where you got guys that can actually handle the rock.
Yeah, I mean, I essentially think that Beal's running point And so I guess one thing to mention, I mentioned his numbers without Dinwiddie this year. You do want to keep in mind that is typically still you're going to have at least one of Neto or Holiday on the floor. So I think you do see an uptick in assist percentage for Beal, even from what we've seen without Dinwiddie on the floor, since he's going to have the ball in his hands a ton. But as far as other pieces go here, I think Daniel Gafford's the clear priority from Washington. He played about 36 minutes last game. He, as long as he avoids foul trouble, is likely to play similar minutes again tonight. That's the first game we've had this year where Gafford was in and Harrell was out, but earlier in the season, we had several games where Gafford was out and Harrell was in. And in those instances as well, Wes Unseld Jr. just treated it like, Harrell was the starting center and he played normal minutes. You got the same thing for Gafford last game when he played 36 and a half. We know he's a very good point per minute guy. He's still cheap. He looks like one of the best plays on the slate. Other than him, Kyle Kuzma is fine. I wouldn't say he's a priority, but he should play big minutes and be the second scorer for this team. KCP is back, so that cuts into Avdia and Kispert a little bit probably, but with Dinwiddie being out, there are still minutes available. So taking shots at any of Avdia, Caldwell Pope, Kispert is fine, but I think that Gafford's the clear priority from Washington.
Thank you for the super chat, Rich. I'm not going to read that. Essentially not happy with Josh's process of teaching the process, but I am appreciative of the super chat, so thank you. Yeah, YouTube overlords coming for us, man. Got to feed the algorithm, Raymond. Hit that thumbs up. You haven't done so yet. Almost at 400. We got 2,600 people watching on a 3-game slate. Appreciate you for that. Sal, why would I read that, Sal? Why would you want me to? Why would you want me to read it? You can read it. You can literally go in the chat and just read it. So
why would Josh share his shit?
That's right. So exactly. I don't understand. Like, he's already going through it with you every day. You expect him to just give it to you? I mean, what, just for free, just hand it out? It's stupid.
Yeah, it's not being an 8-year-old. It's kind of how things work. If you build something, it's yours.
Yeah. So I don't know. Read it. You read it. DFS Reds. You can be like Ankur and start your own YouTube channel and start reading all of that shit. DFS Reds. If you believe the Bucks will blow out Orlando, would it be smarter to play Embiid over Giannis? In this scenario, Harden is already in the lineup. Fair question, Adam, just given that Giannis could see abbreviated minutes as 14-point favorites on the road.
So I think mostly the Harden piece is what interests me here. Like, if you're building one lineup, I think it's a very, very fair tiebreaker to prefer Embiid to Giannis if you have Harden, just because they're playing each other and there's some positive correlation there. I'm not overly concerned with the blowout angle because to a large extent that's factored in. Like, Milwaukee blows teams out a lot and Giannis is averaging 31.8 minutes per game. I only gave him 30 minutes here. That's what he played against Orlando last game, and he still projects higher than Harden. So I'm not overly concerned with the blowout piece, but I do think that, there is some positive correlation there. So, as a tiebreaker, going Embiid where you have Harden makes some sense.
Mike asks with a super chat. Thanks, Mike. Closing lineup for Milwaukee in a blowout. I mean, it depends what the blowout looks like, first of all. But
yeah, I mean, if you're talking like a true, like nobody plays in the fourth quarter thing,
yeah,
it's not really useful for DFS because it's going to be guys that didn't play at all previously. Like, I mean, I don't even know who on the end of their bench is active, but like, you're just talking about running guys like Jordan Nwora and Thanasis and those guys that like probably didn't play a minute prior.
This is the most support I've seen for Josh on our Deeper Dive show, maybe ever, Adam.
Yeah, for sure.
This never happens. All right. Salad told us to grow thicker skin, though, so just be aware of that. I some random person in chat that.
I thought you said salad.
I did. Salad.
Okay.
Salad, I think was his name. That's cute. All right, let's keep going. We'll close it out with Washington. We got 5 minutes to go. Then we hand this one over to the Live Before Lock crew. Coming up next, you got Eric Lindquist. I told you. I want you guys to get in on him for this acting stuff. And Greg Ehrenberg. What are you laughing at, Jordan? Why are you laughing? It's 3 games, man. I don't know what people expect us to do with 3 games on an hour, and half of the teams are just out. So, I mean, It's going to happen. Shit, we talked about the Wire for 20 minutes on an 8-game slate the other day. What did you expect? Outside of Beal, though, where do we go to? You talked about him obviously being the point man here, controlling the offense, bringing the ball court, but who else stands out as just clear top options on a team that is, and we obviously you talked about some of these guys, but we got 4 minutes to go. Gafford, KCP, Kyle Kuzma, Avdia. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, Gafford's the only one that I would call like an actual priority. I mean, on FanDuel, we have him in the optimal lineup 62% of the time. On DraftKings, we have him in the optimal lineup 65% of the time. So at 58% ownership on DraftKings, we actually still have him going under-owned. I wouldn't call anybody else a priority. I think that 4K Corey Kispert probably plays a nice chunk of minutes here and looks like a good value. Same can be said for Avdia. Same can be said for KCP. Their optimal percentage is right around in line with their ownership projections on DraftKings. Kuzma, I think, probably has the second or third highest raw point ceiling on the team, certainly behind Beal and then similar to Gafford. But he is projected to go a little bit over-owned. Overall, though, it's just like a team where I think, with the exception of Gafford, everyone's projected to be owned more or less where they should be. And then Gafford is just like one of the top plays on the entire slate.
All right. Who's your top value and top overall option on DraftKings?
Top value and top overall option. So again, like I prefer Giannis amongst the pay up options. I think that it's very close. And like we said to that one super chat, especially if you're like, playing limited lineups, using a tiebreaker, like, who, if you have Brooklyn guys going with him or preferring Embiid or whatever makes sense. But I think Giannis is, he's my highest projected guy. He's Alex's highest projected guy. Top value, I think Gafford, RJ Hampton, on DraftKings specifically. He's more expensive on FanDuel. Kevin Pengos, if he starts. Tim Frazier at 3,100. Some of the top point per dollar values.
Shake Milton is active, by the way. So that team almost entirely healthy. Brian, can I play Avdia and Kuzma in the same lineup or make a group to separate them? What do you think?
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Caleb asks, if you were eating brunch, what is your go-to food? That's easy for me. French toast or eggs Benedict for me, hands down, simple enough. Those are the two best. Put some strawberries on the French toast, call it a day.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have like a good answer off the top of my head.
Really? Jordan's appalled by that. What's yours, Jordan? Eggs Benedict. Yeah, it's the best answer.
Sunny side up eggs is normally the go-to.
What is?
Sunny side up eggs.
Okay, that's fine.
Or over easy.
I'm fine with that. Fine. You dip some toast in it, or you just like straight eat the egg?
Just eat the eggs.
Really?
Yeah. But yeah,
That's odd.
bacon, sausage, whatever.
Okay, that's odd. El Negro Loco, shout out to Spreadsheets. We'll catch you guys back here tomorrow to close out the week. Live Before Lock with Eric, the actor, and Greg Ehrenberg coming up next. Shout out to Jordan Klein, as always, for producing the show. This is the Awesemo Deeper Dive presented by Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports. Use that link. Use that promo. Get the $100 match deposit. Well, no, not match. Deposit bonus. And get the free month of Awesemo Plus. We'll see you over there. Peace.
my gosh. What's going on, everybody? Hello, I am Eric Lindquist of Awesemo.com. Welcome to the NBA Live Before Lock show presented by Yahoo. Excited to be talking through this now three-gamer that is all locking at one time. We will not be talking about late swap, that I can guarantee you, but we will be talking some NBA here, unlike the last show before us that, just thought it was more fun to do whatever the hell they did for an hour. I loved it. It was fantastic. What else are you supposed to do on this slate? But we got the guy who's going to talk you through some actual NBA action here in the next 57 minutes before lock, and that is Greg Ehrenberg. Go follow him at G Ehrenberg DFS over on the Twitters. How you doing, my dude?
Good. To be joined by the famous Eric the actor of the Howard Stern show. That's that's big stuff. Eric the actor, stuff. Guys, look him up. He was on the Howard Stern show at one point. It's the same person. If you guys want to see other pictures of Eric, it's Eric the actor.
Yeah, no, it's just my adult film career didn't go as planned, and I just couldn't possibly flash that thing up on IMDb for all the people to see. Jordan Klein is nervous. He's like, Eric's going to say something he's not supposed to, and I'm going to be here for it. And we're going to watch the world burn. Man, Twitter, YouTube chat is lit right now. This is fantastic. Hit the like button while you're at it, because you're obviously enjoying being in the chat, chatting it up. We now have subscriber mode on because the bots are out in full force. But yes, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. You know the drill by now. But we're going to go position by position on the show. But before we do, Greg, we have some starting lineups that are starting to roll in here. Right as we went live here, we finally got the official news that Kevin Pangos will be starting here. I don't see the accompanying lineup with the Cleveland Cavaliers here, but we can kind of make assumptions on what that looks like. What do you think about Kevin Pangos starting here in the absence of Ricky Rubio and all these other guards, Garland, Sexton, and so on and so forth?
Yeah, I think more or less expected, just based on the limited amount of players that are available for the Cleveland Cavaliers, particularly guys in the backcourt. I know earlier when I did the injury report show with Adam, he had speculated that it could be Pangos that was starting. I had projected him as such. I don't think that means he goes and plays 36 minutes or anything like that, but it makes him certainly a viable value option, what is now a 3-game slate. And once again, it's going to be another stars and scrubs night tonight. Eric is not going to be able to just jam late swap down your throats because there's no late swap to be had today.
Yeah, I'm useless. Yeah, just don't even talk to me. Just Greg talk. Go ahead.
Which that should be the case every time. But yesterday I did have. Do you remember what I had posted in our group chat yesterday, late swap wise? Do you remember who I said to late swap to?
Oh, was this the Ty Jerome when I got 90+% of Ty Jerome and he just completely
you better believe it,
decimated the slate? I tell you what. I felt bad because I was thinking about this from yesterday. All my Anthony Simons became Ty Jerome, like in a heartbeat. That was why we stacked up. I said, in case there was any other news, Anthony Simons on the back burner, all of that became as much Ty Jerome as humanly possible. So Greg, absolute smash by you. Much appreciated. I probably owe you lunch.
Ack. Yeah, it's really good to just get, Eric the actor in the mix here. Whenever we could pull it. Eric the actor.
Get off the stream and go be a father, okay? Goodbye.
No. What is he got?
Your work here is done, buddy. Your work here is done. Clock out.
What is he gonna do? Be an Iggy Brazdikis lookalike elsewhere? No, he's welcome in the YouTube chat anytime. What do you make of Pangos starting though? Is this what you expected?
Yeah, that's exactly who Ryan and I kind of assumed. We had like an all Gonzaga team that we were listing off yesterday when we were talking Kispert, we were talking him, so many different guys. Jalen Suggs, unfortunately, an active rip, but I'm looking at him as somebody who's a decent value. I mean, he's sub 4K over on FanDuel. We know that he's going to be super cheap. He's like on DK. I'm playing a lot more on FanDuel here today.
He's 3,800 on DK.
Okay, 3,800. Yeah, so I mean, he's still like in a playable point. It's just a minutes thing. I mean, who else is going to be pushing him for minutes? We got Dylan Windler, who's going to be in there, but this is like his first game back in like almost 2 weeks here. Like, at least Pangos has been alive, and he was on the floor there towards the very end, played 9 minutes against the Pellies, so not completely obsolete. I don't really know what to make of like 0.67 fantasy points per minute, but he seems like a decent enough piece of value on this slate.
Yeah, and I'm just really quickly going to pull up because you brought up Dylan Windler there. In terms of minutes he's played this year, he's played 46% of his minutes at shooting guard this year, 54% at small forward. I mean, these backcourt minutes, who's going to play the point guard minutes other than Pangos today? Are they going to play a Coro point guard, maybe Denzel Valentine? Yeah. Here are the available guards that the Cleveland Cavaliers have today. It is Okoro, Pangos, Denzel Valentine, and RJ Nembhard. That's it. Those are the only four. Oh, no, Malik Newman also. Like, who are these guys? Pangos might play a ridiculous amount of minutes, and I might be under projecting him.
Yeah, I think I've got him for 33. And again, I don't really know what to make of that. Again, I just kind of go through and do my own minute stuff, go team by team. That's kind of my routine in the morning is just kind of going through. And, you know, it's been changing so much that I've been starting to push it off till later in the afternoons. But I thought it was going to be pretty clear cut today. And then we got all of this Wizards news here as well. So let's kind of use this to go over to position by position, starting at the guard spot. And the most popular guy here on the slate is RJ Hampton over on DraftKings. He's sub 4K. I think that completely makes sense. 5,300 though over on FanDuel is a little bit different of a play here for me. I'm trying to find ways to get below 52% there, 32 minutes for him. I think Pangos is probably one way to do it. What are you doing with RJ Hampton on this slate where he is super chalk?
It's hard to really avoid him, especially because he could be playing garbage. He could be playing garbage time in this game as well. We could definitely, and we have an ownership update we do not have an ownership update since the starting lineup came out for the Cavaliers. But if nothing changes right now, Pangos is such a good pivot option because as it stands right now, and this isn't even a knock against RJ Hampton, he's in my player pool at a pretty high clip, but Pangos is projected for 8% ownership right now. Hampton's projected for 62.5% ownership. They play the same position. There's only $100 separating them on DraftKings. So do I have RJ Hampton projected higher? Certainly, but I don't think he outscores him at a 7-1 clip. So I think Pangos is a pretty clear pivot play right there.
All right. Yeah, he's just a guy that, do I think he's good? I don't really know. I mean, he's just pretty new out of Gonzaga. I don't really care. I think you just need to play somebody who's going to play a lot of minutes in bulk here. I think RJ Hampton is legitimately good. There's still massive dogs here. I think he's probably pretty blowout proof, but RJ Hampton coming from Denver. I mean, he was the number one high school recruit back in the day before ruining his draft stock, going over to Australia and then coming back over and falls to Denver. Denver picks him up. I thought he was a decent cog there. And I think he's going to be a decent cog for Orlando. And my big thing is that he's just going to be super, super popular. And I'm trying to find ways to get different. I don't think, as you said, I don't think you can avoid him on this slate. If you're playing one lineup, you're probably still playing him, but I'm going to be playing multiple lineups, playing 190 over on DK, 150 on FanDuel. And so for me, I'm obviously playing a little bit more volume on the FanDuel one. So I'm focusing on finding like ways to get a little bit away from him more so than not. And I think Pangos is the main key to do that.
And let's talk about him on FanDuel, because I do think he's way different on FanDuel than DK. Here's something that confuses me about RJ Hampton. So he is 3,900 on DK, projected for 62% ownership. Mm-hmm. All right, all well and good. On FanDuel, though, at 5,300, he's projected for 52% ownership. Like, why is his ownership about the same on both sites when he's $1,400 more expensive on FanDuel? I don't really understand that aspect.
I can tell you, because I mean, so there's two things. One, the floor is not what the floor used to be over on FanDuel. It's rare. Like, obviously, you had that Brown Jr. character from Atlanta that ended up in that winning lineup yesterday, where you had 3,600 for him or whatever it was. But very, very infrequently on FanDuel are you able to find legitimate players at the min, whereas on DraftKings you are. And so what's happening is they're increasing them to around like the deeper 4K, early 5K kind of numbers on some of these players, like an RJ Hampton here. And they're just making it very inaccessible to go down to the floor because you're legitimately at 3,500 to 3,800 going to find like 0 minutes. Like, you're going to find guys who are playing 0 minutes. So the floor in essence is like 3,900 or 4K. So it makes sense to me that RJ Hampton's falling into like 5,300 numbers on FanDuel, because we just look at it from like at first glance, you see it and it makes sense why you're saying that. But when you start taking into consideration, there are very few plays that are remotely playable outside of Pangos underneath 3,900. We can talk Gillespie if we want to.
Tim Frazier.
Say that again.
Tim Frazier. I mean,
Tim Frazier.
He's starting at point guard for the Magic.
But I'm saying this is an outlier today. I'm saying like routinely, that's kind of where it is. That's where the salary floor is like falling into more and more on these slates. But on a 3-gamer here, yeah, those are your pivots. You're talking Tim Frazier now that he's starting because, there's obviously some deals where him and Freddie Gillespie are in 10 days. And then we have another situation here where you just lost Ricky Rubio. And so you have Pangos, who would have been projecting for 8 minutes beforehand. Now he's in a starting role. There's really no other guard to go to. So a lot of drastic things have changed, even more so than the typical health and safety protocols that we've seen routinely here.
With that aside, I still don't think RJ Hampton should be picking up over 50% ownership on FanDuel.
I'm with
5,300. I haven't projected, pretty well. I haven't projected for 27 fantasy points at 5,300 on FanDuel. That's no issue. On DK, where he's 3,900, one of the best, if not the best value plays on the slate. But I see a lot of guys at guard that I want to play, at least on FanDuel, over RJ Hampton when he's going to be over 50% on. That's really where I'm coming from.
Well, you and I completely agree then. I mean, that's the one thing that we came to an agreement on FanDuel is I'm trying to find ways to get lower on a 5,300 number there for it. But I understand why that number is coming in where it's at right now. Let's keep going here at the guard position. I want to talk spend ups because James Harden's up there. Bradley Beal's up there. How many minutes are you projecting Bradley Beal to play today? And can he rival something from James Harden now that Kevin Durant is back?
No, probably not. I think we're going to see from also, this has been a really disappointing fantasy season from Bradley Beal because you looked at him last year where he was second in league in scoring behind Steph Curry and was also just a monster for fantasy purposes in games that Russell Westbrook was out last year. So I just looked at all that information and said, okay, Bradley Beal this year, he's probably going to lead the league in scoring. He's going to be just a monster for fantasy purposes because Russell Westbrook no longer on the team. And he's taken such a big step back in a way that doesn't make sense to me. So last year, 34.2% usage rate for Bradley Beal. He averaged 46.48 DraftKings points per game. You take Russell Westbrook out of the equation. This year, 31.8% usage rate, averaging 39.25 DraftKings points per game. Now you've got him coming back from COVID. Who knows if his conditioning is really up to par. So I have to assume that his minutes floor is maybe a little bit lower than it usually is. So Bradley Beal, at least on DraftKings at this current price point, it's not something I'm willing to get to. FanDuel is a totally different story because the salary is different.
Yeah, 8,300, I'm getting well above that 47% number. He goes with Spencer Dinwiddie off the floor this season from a 1.09 fantasy point per minute player to around 1.17. So there is a discernible bump there. I don't know what the minutes are going to look like, but at 8,300, I don't really think I need to worry about it too much on a 3-game slate here. Middleton at 8K is just such an overpay to me that it's ridiculous. I literally project them about 10 points apart, as do Awesemo's projections, actually more than 10 points apart between Beal and Middleton. Franz Wagner, I think you're able to play him at the small forward position here as well. That seems to be where I'm getting to a little bit more of him. So I'm with you. Bradley Beal on FanDuel makes a lot of sense. I think over on DK, you're definitely fighting for it. I would probably find the money to make sure that I got James Harden at a guard spot. Obviously, Bradley Beal, point guard and shooting guard, and James Harden, you just are playing a point guard. Anybody else here in the popular guard situation? We talked Tim Frazier. How much of him are you getting to on this slate at 3,100 on DK?
So he's my favorite value play on the slate. If we're just talking points per dollar, he's starting at point guard for the Magic. And just from that standpoint, he's also a really good pivot off of RJ Hampton. He's cheaper than Hampton and he's starting while Hampton's coming off the bench. I understand that this is a guy who's been on a million different teams in the NBA, but we've seen him be a decent enough fantasy producer in the past. $3,700 on FanDuel, $3,100 on DK. By the way, we just got an ownership update, so I'm scrolling through that as well, just to see what the most recent numbers are. But right now, DK, Tim Frazier's projected for 35% ownership compared to 55% ownership for RJ Hampton. Over on FanDuel, we've got RJ Hampton. His ownership has come down now, 45% on FanDuel compared to Tim Frazier at 38%. Let's see, where is Pangos at now? He is 18% on FanDuel, and on DK, he is at 16%. Still too low, in my opinion.
Yep, too low. I'm going to be well over that number. Again, I love unknowns. I'm willing to overinvest in unknowns. I don't know, but it seems like the field isn't willing to find out the way that they maybe should, especially on a 3-game slate. We don't have any late swap. The edge has to be in just embracing a lot of these unknowns. So I'm going to be going that direction here. Also using the boom bust tool. That's going to be something that as that updates here with the ownership, I'm going to want to have. We had just got that ownership update 1 minute ago. I'm going to be waiting for it to kind of be added to the boom bust tool, and we'll go back and forth there. Any other spend ups, or I mean, you have some other guards that you can spend up for just to be super contrarian here. I will not play like a single share of Patty Mills over on FanDuel. I can tell you that much. It's just such a weird number. Even losing a game, I find it just impossible for me to get there. But there's a number of these guys. Drew Holiday. We've got Bradley Beal we talked about. Chris Middleton, of course. Seth Curry, Tyrese Maxey. Anybody else that you're getting over the field on in that like mid-tier of guard? Because obviously we need to find ways to get different on this slate.
The mid-tier, there just are not that many guys I'm getting to. Every single one of these slates now, we get, even on a 3-game slate, there's like 6, 7, 8 guys that are worth playing for nearly min price on DK. And then the FanDuel pricing structure is different, where it's just, kind of easy enough to spend up for guys with their salary structure. But then on DK, even like, I don't think that James Harden or Kevin Durant are good points per dollar plays. It also doesn't matter, because there's so many guys that are good cheap plays that just on the high end, the raw points matter more. So I'm getting to a lot of James Harden. I only am projected for about 50 fantasy points at 11,000, 1,100 on DK. Generally, that's not somebody I'd be dying to roster, but it's so easy to fit him in that it doesn't matter today.
I agree with you. RJ Hampton, we already talked about, especially over on the DK slate. We've got so many guys there at the bottom. Pangos as well. We've touched on, so no issue with that. Whoa, what in the world? Sometimes that just happens out of the middle of nowhere. I'm literally not doing anything.
Was that a cough, or did you just?
I don't know. However, I was courtside next to the Denver Nuggets, so I will not be going anywhere. Because the Denver Nuggets, I was literally courtside, like in their huddle on Sunday, which made this morning waking up very, very awkward.
So I have a conspiracy that I threw into our group chat. I think that you have COVID, you and your wife, and you infected the entire Denver Nuggets team for the purpose of winning some kind of DFS contest in the future. Yeah, I'm on to you.
All right, we continue on. Anything else at the guard position for you here? Isaac Okoro, he's going to be somebody that you kind of have to take shots on. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope back in there too. Shooting guard, small forward eligibility over on DK. Who else are you getting to here at the guard position before we move on to forward?
So in terms of guards,
is it just kind of like a mix and match kind of a slate where there are clear-cut options and then you're mixing around a bunch of dudes in the last couple spots? Like Tim Frazier, Pangos seem like guys that we're higher on. RJ Hampton on DK, impossible to really get away from. And then we have all these spend ups, but I feel like you got to find ways to just be a little bit different. I've got one guy in the mid tier, and I'm just curious if there's any kind of a similarity that we have. I mean, he's a little bit different site to site, but anybody else for guard that you're higher on?
I have a decent amount of Isaac Okoro, which I don't feel good about, because there's probably been no player I've bet unders on more this year than Isaac Okoro, and he's terrible. But there's everybody's out for the Cleveland Cavaliers. He's $4,600 on FanDuel. He's $4,400 on DK. At least for FanDuel, he does rack up defensive stats from time to time, so that is something that could play in his favor on FanDuel. With the 3 points for the block and the steal. So I'm getting to him. I don't feel good about it, but I'm rostering guys like Corey Kispert, and I'm rostering, or like we're rostering Pangos today. So like, could we say confidently that Pangos is that much better than Isaac Okoro? So he's in my player pool at a pretty good clip as well. And I don't find a way around it. I think he's going to play a massive amount of minutes today.
So I think looking at this Orlando and Milwaukee game, if Orlando keeps this close, I would be pretty surprised. And I don't want to like factor in a bunch of blowout, but I think factoring in blowout on a 3-game slate is very, very fascinating. And I'm just kind of, obviously from the Orlando side, they're already depleted. We're already playing a bunch of their scrubs. But I got to say, for me, looking at the guard spot from Milwaukee, Grayson Allen, doesn't that have to be a guy that, he's 6% right now over on FanDuel. I get it. He has not been good here, but he started now the last 26, 23 minutes here. I understand you get everybody back in the mix here, but earlier in the season, he was knocking down a lot of shots. He's sub 10% on the FanDuel slate. And for me, I'm getting 25%. I'm trying to get literally like 4x the field on it. He's still somebody that I think is going to spike some kind of an upside here eventually. I think out of all of the starters here from Milwaukee, he'd be the one guy who could stay on the floor if it gets really, really lopsided. You don't really like that play whatsoever?
Well, I just don't think he plays in garbage time. So
You don't?
that's no. I think that they would play. I mean, there were some games recently where he was kind of out of the rotation altogether, but they have a ton of guys that are active for the Milwaukee Bucks, and we've seen them in garbage time. They play the guys that are not usually in the rotation. So the guys that would play in garbage time, maybe it could be DiVincenzo just to get him extra run for conditioning because he hasn't played very much this year. Thanasis would play in garbage time. Sandro Mamukelashvili, I think he would play in garbage time. Then you got guys, like Jordan Nwora off the end of the bench, Javonte Smart. I don't think Grayson Allen would be in garbage time. I do think there are players to play in this game for garbage time purposes, but for me, they more come from the Orlando side. Like Freddie Gillespie is starting today.
Yes.
But I also think he would play in garbage time. So I think he is the guy to be overweight to for the purposes of garbage time.
That's fair. For me, the issue that you're running into with a lot of them on FanDuel from Milwaukee, for those guys, like Nwora is 6,600. He's legitimately not playable. So you can't even remotely even think about it. Rodney Hood is 4K. He's out of the rotation. So you're probably taking a 0 in a lot of spots. Plus, he's a veteran. I doubt he just plays period. So Thanasis would be the shot, and he's projected for 0 points. So it gets really, really hairy here, but considering that's the one game that's just with a really, really lopsided spread, it's one that I just think if you can find the game script to get onto one guy a little bit differently, I just don't see it really being George Hill. George Hill will actually be on the floor at 3,900. Maybe he's like a Pangos pivot, but there are so many of these spots where, yes, you have to be willing to inherit a lot of this risk. It's not going to go well, but for me, that's kind of why the Whiteside play made sense on a Christmas Day slate, is that there was a path to him being a high fantasy point per minute guy. If you project a blowout, you get 20 minutes, you could be in great shape. I think he performed pretty well in yesterday's slate. And given these have been very, very value laden slates where we haven't had to look to do much like that. But in order to find that one piece of differentiation, I'm trying to find some kind of a blowout run here from this spot. And, Milwaukee side made the most sense considering all of these Orlando scrubs are already starting. So that's fun. Anything else for you from guard?
I mean, obviously there's a bunch of names that we could throw out. I don't want to name everybody because, then you get to a point where it's I don't want to name every player who I have 2% of.
How about this? Tyrese Maxey, Shake Milton. What's the difference between those two for you?
Let's see. The difference.
It's a fun 1v1.
The difference between them for me. Did you see the clip with Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid from the other day?
I did not.
It was very funny. So Tyrese Maxey sucked the other game. He shot, it was 2 of 11 from the field or something. And so he sits down at the post-game press conference next to Joel Embiid. They get the stat sheet. Joel Embiid looks at it and he just goes, "Wow, you were trash today." And he's looking at me, he's like 2 of 11. And Maxey starts laughing. He's like, "I had 2 air balls today." And they were just laughing. He's like, "Oh, it's like when you were first breaking into," I don't remember exactly what his words were, but he said it was something it reminded of when he first came into the league and he was a rookie and he was terrible. And they were just laughing at how much he sucked the other day. That aside though, the difference to me between Maxey and Shake Milton is that I feel better about Maxey's minutes. And I think that he has more upside in this spot.
Yep, I agree. And, that's fine. I'm looking over at FanDuel as well, where one's 47 and one's 6,600. And I'm actually finding myself onto a little bit more Shake Milton, which is why I brought up that. Maxey, Seth Curry, Shake Milton, all 24%, 17.7, actually 17.7, identical for Curry and Milton. I think just kind of finding some of these guys to mix and match. Maxey and Curry definitely have the paths to more minutes, but they're both 66 and 6,500. I'm just going overweight on Milton, the cheaper guy, trying to get to more upside with some of the studs. Thought I would at least explain that one out because, again, that's just one of the smaller stands out of 150 lineups where you try to find spots to get a little bit of leverage here. So I'm looking at that. So I just wanted to point that out here as we move on. Another thing I want to point out as we move on, Awesemo plus tools and content, $29.95 for a weekly pass right now. That's a pretty good deal, but it gets better with 25% off, I would say. So use promo code NBA Live. That's all caps, one word, NBA Live, to get 25% off of everything we have behind the paywall, not just NBA, where we have weekly packages for $16.95 or $4.95 for the weekly express package, but 25% off of $29.95, just a little bit more than that weekly package for NBA, gets you every sport. That's NFL, MMA, PGA is coming back here in less than 2 weeks. So check out all of this content. Actually, it's exactly 2 weeks from now that it comes back for the 10th Century Tournament of Champions. So be on the lookout for PGA content coming out here soon. Jason Roslin, Ben Ross, and myself. That'll be exciting. But 25% off with promo code NBA Live. Stop guessing, start winning. join us here at Awesemo Plus today. All righty, let's head over to the forward spot here. And I want to talk two spend ups first. Giannis Antetokounmpo, Kevin Durant, pick one.
That is going to be Kevin Durant for me for a couple of reasons. Number one, I think he makes for a pretty good pivot off of the mass amount of ownership that's going to James Harden. And I'm just going to refresh to make sure I'm looking up the most recent run of ownership. So I'm not saying something that's out of school here, but yeah, so the most recent run of ownership, we have James Harden projected on DK as the most popular spend up option. He's projected for 39% ownership on DK. We have Kevin Durant projected for 26% ownership over on FanDuel. James Harden projected for 47% ownership, and Kevin Durant is only projected for 21. Just given the difference in ownership between the two, and I guess some people are a little concerned. Kevin Durant, long layoff, coming back from COVID. I mean, that aside, is there really that much difference in the ceilings between Kevin Durant and James Harden? I don't think so. So I have a slight lean towards Kevin Durant. I'm actually overweight to the field on both of them right now, but I'll lean towards Durant if I'm paying up for a Brooklyn net just because he's lower owned, and I don't think there's a massive difference between the two.
Yeah, and also just a blowout minutes, number of things. I project Kevin Durant for more minutes, which is funny because he's coming off of COVID, but we saw James Harden play 35, I believe his first game back, 36 minutes. And so Kevin Durant, if you put him in for 34, 35 as well, that's more than you're projecting Giannis in this game with a 15 spread. So I'm definitely finding myself onto a little bit more Kevin Durant, but I'm like you, we're on both sides. I'm getting overweight to the field here, as well as our sponsor Yahoo, which I'm excited to talk about here in a second, but I'll make sure that I touch on some of their pricing here too. Make sure you're playing over their lowest management fees around the industry, bar none. But rest of the forward position, we've got some guys that are very, very popular alongside those two studs. It's Freddie Gillespie. He's starting here for Orlando at 3,100 on DK. Find him pretty impossible to get away from. I think there are paths to not play as much over on FanDuel. I don't know what those paths are because I'm still getting to quite a bit of him at 4,400. But what are you doing with Freddie Gillespie on this slate?
Yeah, I like him a lot. And we talked about him when we were talking about, I brought him up before when we were talking about guards as well, just kind of in passing because we're talking about blowout risk. And I said with Freddie Gillespie, I think he's going to play garbage time for the Orlando Magic. And we were talking about guys who potentially be on the court in garbage time for the Bucks. There's nobody I really like from that perspective. But to me, Freddie Gillespie comes into play in a couple of ways. He's already starting for the Magic, but I also think he could close the game if it's close. I think he's in the game at the end if it's a blowout. And I think this game's pretty likely to be a blowout. The current spread for this game, it's 14 points, even with the Bucks being on the road. So I look at Gillespie at 3,100 as my favorite cheap option to play at the forward position.
All right, that's fair. We just got the starting lineup as well for the Sixers. Maxey, Curry, Thibault, Harris, Embiid. I think Thibault was somebody that we were probably projecting in. Looks like, yes, it makes no difference. He started the last four. Don't see any reason that would have changed here. Anything to mine out of that because it looks exactly like we expected.
Yeah, Nets starting lineup here. Harden, Mills, Durant, Claxton, Aldridge. Oh, actually, you know what? This is something we already had as pretty good bets on OddsShopper. Bet unders on DeAndre Bembry with him not being in the starting lineup because there were numbers like 3.5 rebounds on him. And these are already really low numbers, but Bembry to me is going to play fairly limited minutes off the bench. I haven't projected for like 2 rebounds, and his number, depending what book you look at, it's like 3.5, 4.5 rebounds.
6.5 points. You can take the under on that. 77% expected win percentage, 47% expected ROI. Rebounds, 3.5. That is a gigantic number. You're getting plus money on the under right now at a sports book. Go to that sports book immediately. Run, don't walk, because yes, I am like-minded with you, DeAndre Bembry. The chances of him getting to 4 rebounds, this game would have to get really out of whack, and I don't see that here. DeAndre Bembry, definitely want to be shorting him, as well as Drew Holiday, taking the under there as well. Milwaukee, again, this is one of those spots here where I just don't, hold up. Wizards starting lineup. Brad Wanamaker, Bradley Beal, Contavious Caldwell-Pope, Kyle Kuzma, and Daniel Gafford. Brad Wanamaker immediately gets picked up and gets inserted into the starting lineup. This is just like Isaiah Thomas getting picked up and then he's gone like 10 days later. Brad Wanamaker is not even in the player pool on DK. Looking at FanDuel, he is in the player pool. He's 3,700. I would be jamming. I'm going to be jamming a lot of that here quickly. 28 minutes before lock. I wish that came out a little bit later. He's 3,700 over there, but unavailable on DK. What do you think about Brad Wanamaker, 3,700 on FanDuel?
Yeah, he's in play. Another thing to consider also, I had Corey Kispert in a handful of lineups, and to me, this really kills Kispert a decent amount too, because we have to think that, one of the reasons to like Kispert is we have a little bit of a shorthanded Washington Wizards team. That's why there's a guy like Brad Wanamaker who they just picked up that's in the starting lineup, but there's no Aaron Holiday, no Spencer Dinwiddie, no Thomas Bryant, Montrezl Harrell, Rui Hachimura, Howell Neto, Davis Bertans, all out right now for the Washington Wizards. I just assumed, it looks like a pretty good spot for Kispert to pick up extra minutes. It still is to an extent, but I don't feel nearly as good as about him coming off the bench. Wanamaker, like you said, not in the DK player pool, so we can't consider him there. But FanDuel at 3,700, I think he's worth shots on, particularly if he's going to be low owned. I've played Brad Wanamaker in other start. I think who did he start for like the Pacers 10 days ago? We played him and it went very poorly. So, why not do it with a different team now?
Let's do it again. Greg. That'll be fun. Yeah. Here we go. Chad Thiel, hit the like button. He said that a long time ago, but I wanted to make sure I got back to that because that was a $5 super chat. You are very appreciated. Everybody, perfect timing. Hit that like button. Goes a long way for us. I'm not asking for much. It's the day before New Year's. Have that be your resolution to be nicer to people, especially Eric the actor. Here we go. Markkanen or Valentine.
Akak.
What?
I said Akak. Rest in peace.
Quack, quack. More like it.
Yeah, there we
see
go.
What I did there?
Oh, see, actually, there are some parallels there. I kind of.
All right, Lauri Markkanen or Denzel Valentine on FanDuel. Stop talking. And now talk about this basketball. There we go.
Those are really weird players to be comparing.
Just saying. I read the question. Okay.
No, I know. I'm not mad at you. I know you're just
put it on the teleprompter. He will read it.
Yeah.
I'm Ron Burgundy.
So there's such a big price gap between them. It's just a 1v1 and there's nothing else considering. The answer is Markkanen.
Yeah, I would say that too. I mean, is your lineup pure chalk the entire way? Then, whatever. Oh, here we go.
What?
Cavs starting Pangos, Okoro, Markkanen, Mobley, Love. Kevin Love. They are not going Dean Wade or anything else like that. Kevin Love in the starting lineup here for the Cavs. It's pretty much exactly what you expected here, but after not starting against the Pelicans and playing 32 minutes, Kevin Love now starting. I don't know what to make of that. I was already getting to a little bit, but now I think I might get to a lot of it. What are you doing with Kevin Love?
Yeah, we haven't seen massive minutes from Kevin Love a lot this year, but I don't even think that matters right now because he just recently showed us that he's capable of playing bigger minutes. So the entire year, what is he averaging for the season? He is averaging 20 minutes per game. Mm-hmm. Been very good from a fantasy perspective in those 20 minutes. So 20 minutes per game, 27 and a half fantasy points. But he played 32 minutes last game, which was a season high by a mile. Let's see. What would you guess is the second most amount of minutes Kevin Love played before playing 32 last game?
I can tell you 24.
Let's see. Yeah, you're right. 24.
Yeah, because I remember that.
Yeah. All right. Good for you. But
thank you. Do I win something?
Yeah, you get to win playing more Kevin Love today because he's starting. I think he goes right back to playing he might even play more than the 32 minutes last game because he came off the bench that spot. So, Kevin Love to me is probably the best play on the slate in the mid-range.
Yep. I'm going to probably get close to 100% of him on FanDuel. 7K. He's 7K on FanDuel.
He's 6,700 on DK.
Jesus. Well, this became a Kevin Love Stan account here. I know everybody hates the word Stan. I saw that from the last show. Whatever. I don't care. Wow. Yeah. Kevin Love in the starting lineup. I really, really like him here. Washington. What a weird slate we have before us. This ought to be a whole lot of fun. But yeah, luckily we're on the forward spot here. So Dean Wade was somebody that I was kind of considering. I thought he was somebody that was projected to start here. I feel bad because I know that Eitan had a prop he was asking me about earlier with Dean Wade. I think he'll still play some minutes. He's just not going to play the 32 minutes we have projected for him. He becomes a very low priority for me in any kind of a DFS format. 3,700 over on DK and just egregiously priced 4,800 over on FanDuel. I'm finding myself probably not even going to get there here at this point in time. Too many other good plays for raw points here on the slate. Let's see what else is going on here. Forward spot. Tobias Harris is 7,400 on FanDuel. That's a joke. So I'm not even going to really talk about him over here, but over on DK for you here today, looking at a play like him, there's a number of these other like expensive dudes that are just a little bit of overpace, but like Evan Mobley still 7,800. You can get there. The minutes should be trending up as he gets going. Tobias Harris is 8,800. We just saw the upside he can have, but he's only 12%. Were you kind of looking in this mid to upper range of forward below Giannis and Durant?
Other than Love, I don't think there's that much to like from just a mid-range perspective. The other guys I like are really all cheaper at this point. So, I mean, you could take shots on Lauri Markkanen, but Kevin Love to me is such a superior play for a little bit more of a price point. Other guys, yeah, I mean, you have to get down to the guys in the 4K range, like Denny Avdia, to really start to find anybody that I really want to get any kind of meaningful exposure to.
I'm getting 98% Kevin Love.
Of Kevin Love. Yeah, I don't have an issue with that.
I put him in 31 minutes and it just is like breaking everything.
And he's going to play more than 31 minutes probably.
I went one below yesterday simply for the fact that I knew I'd get 100% if I put him in for 32 or 34 minutes. But now I'm getting 98%. So I'm not getting 100%.
If you have 100% of them, I don't think that's an issue whatsoever though.
All right. Last two weren't answered. I will answer them here, Jordan Klein. Everybody gives Jordan Klein some love, the best producer in the game. I'm not going to even say name Jordan Klein. He's just the best producer in the game, bar none. How does that feel? Does that make you feel good? You don't give a shit about me. Jason Kelly says, thoughts playing Mobley and Love, Yahoo, GPP. No problem whatsoever.
No, Love is the higher priority. I've Love projected for more fantasy points than Evan Mobley. He's also cheaper than Evan Mobley. So Kevin Love to me is I think Kevin Love is going to be the player I end up with the most exposure to today.
Well, I'm hoping that I don't have anybody over 98% owned, but here we go. I'm Real Forever, $2. Pangos or Frazier FanDuel, both 3,900. Well, that's going to be the question everybody wants to know. So we've got both of them starting, both of them in spots. I will say, if you're telling me one or the other, I'm going to go to Tim Frazier a little bit more just from a raw points perspective, but we're not playing just raw points. Pangos is going a little bit underowned, therefore Pangos for me if you're talking about one lineup, one tournament.
Yep, it is Pangos for me. I have them projected really similarly, but we currently have Tim Frazier projected for 37% ownership and Pangos at 24%. She'll just give me the guy, with all else being about even between the two of them, just give me the guy who's got, like 60% of the ownership.
Agreed. And now we got one more. Orion, $4.99. Thank you, Orion. Is it too ugly to play 6 from the Cleveland-Washington game for a FanDuel GPP? Pangos, Wanamaker, Avdia, Mobley, and Love. No problem whatsoever. Again, this is a short slate. If a game goes to double OT, you probably want every single player from that game. And it's more inclined to happen on this kind of a slate where you're automatically, because of projections, going to get to maybe 5 or 6 of these guys in the same lineup. So, Greg, do you have any problem whatsoever with doing that?
No, especially not on a 3-game slate where let's say one of these games go to overtime, which, is somewhat well, the Milwaukee Orlando game is not likely going to overtime, but the Nets the Nets Philly game with a 5-point spread, Washington Cleveland 4-point spread. Either of those games pretty live to go to overtime. And if that does, a stack of that game is going to be the nuts really without much question. So considering that there's also a pretty good chance that the Bucks game ends up being a blowout, I think that this is probably not something I'd usually do in NBA, but it does make a little more sense to stack games for this particular slate than it does for most slates.
Yeah, and DJ Marshall, $5 just to say spread love, ! I would agree. You should do that. Quack, quack. Okay.
Yeah.
Fun.
Yeah. Go spread love, interspecies, intergalactic, whatever floats your boat. Yeah.
Did I just hear a quack? Did you play a duck sound? Are you Tyler? Was that a duck sound, or am I just hearing?
No. Yeah, you must be hearing things. Jordan doesn't have those kind of capabilities.
Jordan's a great producer. The ducks waiting for me in the pen to be quiet. That it was just the from the bed that's next to you. You're hearing it. What is happening? I'm hearing a quack or something. This is weird. Twisted Reality Gaming, $5. Hey, Eric, I'm sorry for comparing Ian Book to Tom Brady. I was very, 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 very wrong. Yes, you were. Close the book on that chapter.
That's one of the worst calls I've ever heard.
Yeah, I honestly, you should. It's almost as bad as when Matt Gajewski said that if Cooper Kupp got over 1,000 receiving yards, that he would receive a taser, like that he would get tased. He made that call. He got called. Yes, you haven't heard this story. Ooh, this is fun. See, story time. I know a lot of you already heard it, so I'm going to make it quick. Makachevsky was so convinced that the Rams taking Cooper Kupp in the first round was one of the worst draft picks of all time. He told his buddy who owned a taser that he would allow him to be tased in the event that Cooper Kupp ever had 1,000-yard receiving. Well, he's had a couple of them, and there you go. So Makachevsky at some point in time is going to be getting tased by his buddy, and he is not allowed to know when it's coming.
Oh my God, don't tase me, bro. Here's something else too, though. So you know what's funny about that? Something I did right before the show started is I actually bet Cooper Kupp to set the record for most receiving yards in a season.
God,
just based on, because Jalen Ramsey had tweeted that he wants Cooper Kupp to get the record this week. It seems like it's going to be part of the Rams' game plans for the last couple weeks of the season to make an effort to try to get Cooper Kupp those records. So you could bet it's like plus 200 from to set the receiving yards, but I think it's a decent enough value just because I think they're going to try to do it. But now that I know that Makachevsky's gonna get tasered too, it makes it even better.
Yeah, it's a 2-for-1 special at Kmart. Let's keep it going. Rest of the forward position, Denny Avdia, Washington. I'm probably not going to get too much of him. Kevin Love's just going to be eating up so many of my forward spots now on FanDuel that I don't have to think nearly. I'm going to be rotating in some of these guys here. Dean Wade definitely not going to be popping the way that he was before. Matisse Thybulle, now that he's confirmed starting once again, which I was expecting, but it's always good to get that confirmation. Somebody I'm going to get to. Is there anybody else at the forward spot that you really feel like is a pivotal piece where you might be getting overweight to the field on them quite a bit?
Let's see. Other guys. Not really. So my forward exposure has gotten pretty concentrated now with the Kevin Love starting news. I'm paying up for Kevin Love, Kevin Durant, Giannis Antetokounmpo. If I'm going cheap, I've got Freddie Gillespie. I've got Isaac Okoro. There's some guys who I think are decent flyers, like Denzel Valentine. We don't know what the Cavs are going to do with their backcourt situation. Is it out of the realm of possibilities that they say, hey, Kevin Pangos isn't playing well, we're just going to go to Denzel Valentine for a bunch of point guard minutes? So he's somebody I think is getting slept on a little bit right now. Our most recent run of ownership got Denzel Valentine only projected for 3% ownership on FanDuel. On DK is projected for 15% ownership. So those are numbers I think it makes sense to be overweight too.
I'm going to cap Kevin Love at 95% of bowl slate. I mean, this is just getting ridiculous what's happening here. I really have nothing else for you. Mo Wagner. Do you have any Mo Wagner exposure? He's 3,200 over on DK.
Less than 10% of him. He's so I'm underweight to him. He's projected for 20% ownership on DK. On FanDuel, he's projected for 12% ownership. I almost wonder if he's getting a boost just because people have seen how good Franz Wagner is, and they're like, "Oh my God, let's roster this other Wagner too." He's a good points per minute fantasy producer, and I don't have a particular issue with him other than just he's really popular on DK at over 20% ownership, and there's other guys I'd rather roster for cheap.
How much Corey Kispert are you getting into in the aftermath of that starting lineup?
None.
I literally have 0%. So I just thought I would ask that. I think he's going to be the most overowned player on the slate.
I brought up before that I thought it hurt Kispert when we got the starting lineup, which was apparent. We expected him to start, then the starting lineup comes out. Who expected Brad Wanamaker to start? You could have given me 50 guesses at the Wizards starting lineup, and none of those iterations would have had Brad Wanamaker starting. But now that Corey Kispert isn't starting, it hurts his minutes, and it doesn't look like it's hurting his ownership that much. We still have him projected for 33% ownership on FanDuel. On DK is projected for 25% ownership. Really, really easy numbers to be underweight to.
Tell you what, Matisse Thybulle. We've got the DFS rankings down here. The NBA DFS rankings completely free here at Awesemo here for you today, as well as NHL ownership projections. Hey, NHL, there's a sport that actually you can play that has a lot of games later on to sweat. So there you go. I think it's let me pull it up. 7-gamer? Is it 7? I think it's a 7-gamer here today. So check that out as well. NHL ownership projections. Those are useful. Check those out. Jake Hari and the boys doing such good job here. Glad to have NHL back, but that'll kind of do it here from the forward spot. Let's talk Yahoo. We've got 13 minutes here left to go. Is there anything else for you from forward before we move on? I should say that.
No, I think we've hit on everybody. Are you getting exposure to Denny at all? I mentioned him in passing as being somebody who had 4,700 on DK. I'm getting some exposure to. I know he's coming off the bench, but whatever. I think there's some extra opportunity for him. Not a primary option for me, but he's in my player pool more than 10%.
Yeah, I find it hard to believe Kispert just like flat out earned minutes here. I still think Denny Avdia is going to be the guy that plays a majority of them off the bench here. Came off of a start, played 31 against Miami there. I'm assuming that he's going to fall back into like a 27, 28 minute role. And I think that makes him viable here at 5,300. My thing with Kispert is that he's legitimately still going to garner attention because people have played him the last couple times. Maybe you have the warm fuzzies from playing him those times. And, he didn't exactly burn anybody, but he didn't burn down a Slate or anything by any means. I feel just fine hoping that he's just like NPD CD. Like he could legitimately not play.
Yeah, that wouldn't actually, that would surprise me a little bit. It wouldn't surprise me if he plays like 15 minutes or something though.
Right. And that's what I'm getting at is that I think it's like there's actually a possibility of him not seeing the floor where like even if that's like a 10, 20% outcome, that's worth it when he's getting projected to still have quite a bit of attention going his way. Like he could totally go out and knock down 4 or 5 threes in like 20 minutes now and completely burn you. But I think more times than not, you play out the slate. I just don't want to get there, period.
Yeah, and there are guys at the end of the Washington Wizards bench that I also think could play some minutes today. Isaiah Todd, Anthony Gill, Craig Sword. They just signed Alize Johnson. Any of these guys could be in the rotation and play 4, 5, 6 minutes. That doesn't seem significant, but it is in terms of then some of these back-end rotation guys, like a Corey Kispert who isn't starting. Then you're all of a sudden getting to more like, oh, Kispert might only play 12 minutes.
Rajon Rondo expected to be traded to the Cavs. Woo! That's exciting. I think that's kind of fun. Rajon Rondo, we know that he can be a distributor. That's basically all he needs to do out there. But that's kind of a fascinating piece of news. Greg, any reactions to that in terms of futures betting? Because we have all the time in the world. We have 11 minutes.
No, like what am I supposed to be high? He's a replacement level player. I don't think
it's just a name. It's just cool to talk about. Be fun.
Is it cool to talk? Is that what's
Be
cool?
fun.
It's cool to talk about Kevin Pangos. It's not cool to talk about. It's not cool to talk about.
It's got a cool last name.
My assumption is that Kevin Pangos is a better NBA player than Rajon Rondo.
It's also my assumption that Yahoo is the best site that you can possibly play on today. And you know why? Because any of their contests have the lowest management fees, period. 11.3% management fee in their $7, which is not yet filled. Jump in the 15 that already filled, but they've got a great payout structure for all of these. 33.3% of the entries are going to be getting paid out over there on these, but low management fees, overlay contests, you name it. They've got it over at Yahoo. So jump over there. And now if you deposit $10 or more playing any of those paid contests, you will get 1 free month. Yes, 1 free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum, all the great stuff I talked about with promo code NBA Live. If you haven't yet checked out Yahoo, you can now deposit over there and get that same promo completely free. Get that 1 free month of Awesemo Plus, no doubt about it. The best place you can play for your bankroll, to build a bankroll, sustain a bankroll, whatever, you need to check it out. This $20 that overlays all the time. They've got 200K of overlay in it already on Sundays for the $20 contest. There's no better contest in the industry week in, week out. So play over at Yahoo, and thank you so much. Thank you so much to them for sponsoring so much content here at Awesemo, but specifically this lovely NBA Live Before Lock that we're on for this 3-gamer. I got 2 super chats here to catch up on here. Let's see. Where did it go? Gabriel Mifrin, Wendell Carter Jr., or Kevin Love, FD last man in. It is Love is the answer to everything for me today.
Yeah, Love. Love's my most rostered player. So anything that's Love or anybody else, it's Love.
Tyler Hitchcock, DK, last spot. KCP or Okoro, both are 4,400. Thank you.
That is Okoro for me.
It's KCP for me, but it's just fractionally. I mean, it's just like fractional. The losers win again. Thoughts on Seth Curry for a last piece, or leave tons of salary on the table for DK?
I don't have Curry exposure today. Do you?
I have on FanDuel. I have a little bit on FanDuel because like there's enough of these guys that you can kind of mix in.
It was a DK question.
DK question. Yeah, I'm not getting to much Seth. I'm getting to know Seth Curry in 190 lineups on DK.
Yeah. So Seth
legitimately
Curry
have 1 share. I have 1 share.
Seth Curry, he's 6,000 on DK. So you're asking the question, do you leave a bunch of salary on the table? I mean, what are we talking here? I'd rather play Tyrese Maxey than Seth Curry. I have Tyrese Maxey projected quite a bit higher. He's $400 cheaper, but I have him for more fantasy points. Other guys priced around there. No, to me, I'd rather play Maxey than Curry, but let's see, 6,000 at the guard position. Yeah, Maxey would be the guy for me, or else just rearrange your lineup, I guess, because it's a weird salary range. It's a weird salary range, but swap to Maxey if you can. If not, then do some rebuilding.
All right. Let's talk about the most uncomfortable. I'm lower than the field and I feel like an idiot because he's like the only spend up we really have here. But Joel Embiid, he's 31.5% over on DK. Over on FanDuel, 25.9%. Actually, I'm getting to almost the field there. So that's fine. But what are you doing with Joel Embiid, the only spend up we really have at the center spot?
So I was not really getting to much of Joel Embiid in my initial run. It was just paying up for Durant, paying up for Harden, paying up for Giannis. I gave Joel Embiid a little bit of a boost just so I would get him into my lineups at least a little bit, because I do want to get some exposure to him as a spend up option compared to the other guys today. I think he's the weakest spend up option by a pretty wide margin.
Agreed.
But there's also the other part of me too that says if Joel Embiid sucks today, the Nets probably win fairly handily against the Philadelphia 76ers. And then you start to think like, okay, can either James Harden or Kevin Durant have big games without Joel Embiid playing decently? And that to me gets a little bit murky. So I'm underweight to the field on Joel Embiid. He's my least favorite of the 4 pay-up options, but I am still getting to some of them. He's in like 15 to 20% of lineups.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah, I view him the exact same way. And it's not even a positional thing, but now over on DK, I can play Kevin Love at some center spots. So I'm getting Gafford, obviously, and we'll talk about him here in a second. I'm getting to power forward center Kevin Love on FanDuel, obviously 95%. So like legitimately no way around it. I want to get to a little bit of Joel Embiid. But just by default, I'm getting less of him than the 27% over on FanDuel. And, you know, I said it's uncomfortable because Embiid, as you said, like he could definitely have the ability to break the slate wide open, but I'm probably siding more with the other studs as well. Rest of the position, I mean, let's just go to Daniel Gafford. How much of him do you have today?
I love Daniel Gafford. He's overall my favorite center play on the slate. He's going to be chalky. I do have more exposure to Kevin Love on DK than I do to Daniel Gafford, but he's my second most rostered center. And I mean, you just look at the Washington situation. We talked about all the guys that are out before, but there was a point in time where it looked like this was going to be a team with a lot of centers on the roster. Thomas Bryant, Montrezl Harrell, Daniel Gafford. Obviously, Thomas Bryant has not yet played this year. He's due to come back in about a month or so. But at least for today, there aren't that many big men to play. And the Cavaliers have a big front court. So this shouldn't really be the case. Or I guess it should be the case. We don't usually think of it this way. Given that the Cleveland Cavaliers are starting Kevin Love, it means they're going to have a front court with Lauri Markkanen, Kevin Love, and Evan Mobley. The Wizards need size to match up against the Cleveland Cavaliers, and they just don't have size outside of Daniel Gafford today. The other bigs that are available for them, it's like Alize Johnson, Isaiah Todd, Kyle Kuzma, if they wanted to try to play him at center maybe. So I think we could see really, really big minutes from Daniel Gafford. I'm not breaking any news. Everybody's playing a bunch of Daniel Gafford. But I'm saying that I think Kevin Love starting for the Cavs is more reason to like Gafford.
Everybody's saying that Rondo's a much, much better player than Pangos. Greg, what do you think about that?
I think that Rondo absolutely does not belong in the NBA right now. It's not a hot take. But that's not a hot take.
Let it burn, Greg.
The Lakers weren't even playing him. He was on the roster and they weren't playing him. So
the Lakers are terrible.
And the Lakers suck. So the reason that the Cavaliers are picking him is just because the Cavs are so decimated at point guard and he could fill minutes. But that aside, like we know that Kevin Love doesn't belong in the NBA. Pangos probably doesn't belong in the NBA. There's what, a 99% chance Pangos is not an NBA player, but there's 100% chance that Rondo isn't.
Jordan is beside himself.
About what?
He's just in the dark. He's like, you besmirched Rondo, apparently.
Everybody, Jordan.
Chat gives a fuck. That's
Jordan,
all I can
say. Everybody cares about Rajon Rondo, Jordan. That's what everybody's talking about in the chat.
Watch the world burn today. I'm having so much fun.
And here's the other funny thing: Rondo is going to start for the Cavs a week from now. He's going to be in like all my lineups. So it's
totally. Yeah,
he's still a good enough fantasy producer on the court, but he's absolutely garbage for real life purposes. There's a reason why teams are not playing him. Rondo's numbers this year. And but before
this is great, I can build all my lineups and finish it up.
Yeah, go ahead. I don't have,
but
a center. I don't have any other centers to talk about. Do you?
No. I mean, Wendell Carter Jr. center-ish, but he can play on power forward. I will say LaMarcus Aldridge, 1%. That seems like, or 3%, getting a little bit over that, like 5-6. I'm happy to do that in a couple lineups. Like, there's so many of these other guys too. Bobby Portis now coming off the bench, probably don't want to be doing that. I mean, they're just so bad. Like, they're just priced so inefficiently that it's impossible not to play a bunch of Gafford and then just kind of move on with your day.
All right. So back to Rondo this year, shooting 32% from the field and 26.7% from three. Yeah, cool. He's really is like, what's the difference between Rondo and Isaiah Thomas at this point in their careers? Not that much, other than Rondo's been healthier as of late. And the other thing also with Rondo is he's an awful individual defensive player. I don't know. Like, what else could I even? I'm trying to fill the final 120 seconds of the show by talking about how terrible Rajon Rondo is.
You can do it.
I have to pull up his basketball reference page also. But I'll guarantee that even in the limited amount of time he's played, that in recent years teams have been considerably better with him off the court than when he was on the court. So the Lakers this year, they have. Oh, this is fantastic. The Lakers' offensive rating this year, when Rondo is off the court, 109.4. With him on the court, 98.5. They score 10.9 less points per 100 possessions with Rajon Rondo on the court. Not that surprising because he's terrible. Let's go back to last year. Last year, right? He shot the ball fairly well last year. Maybe it's more promising. Maybe last year across the teams he played on, things look better. How about playoff Rondo, right? Everybody loves some playoff Rondo.
Oh, yeah.
How about Rondo on the Clippers last year in the playoffs? Oh, they scored 7.4 less points per 100 possessions with Rondo on the court versus when he was off the court. In the regular season last year, both the Hawks and the Clippers, their offensive rating was worse when Rondo was on the court versus when he was off the court. He's trash.
There you go. The official word, Rajon Rondo's trash. Make sure somebody sends, tag Rajon Rondo in that clip. That would be beautiful. Let him know that, because when he plays for the Cavs at 4,500 starting next week, we're absolutely going to be jamming him. But guys, we are at lock officially. Bam. What an eventful hour. That thing flew. That was super easy. I'm excited to go watch some basketball. That's it. We don't have anything else. No football tonight. No other NBA. I'm just going to be doing the NBA slate starter. Make sure you check that out with Ryan and myself. Rinpack, as you might better know him. He seems pretty important. You should listen to him about basketball. But Greg Ehrenberg, great job. Any final words for the people? If Rajon Rondo scores 50 or more fantasy points in his first game, I'll get a jersey and hang it on the wall for Rajon Rondo. Okay. I love that. You have a big empty space right there. It looks like garbage anyway. So perfect. We'll have that all set. Guys, absolute blast. Appreciate you. Hit the like button on the way out. We're out.